Okay, chalo. A very good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
So very happy to see you, and it's good that after a long time you've woken up so early, right? Okay, and welcome to your CA final and to your financial reporting. This is probably one of the most interesting subjects that you have in your CA final, and over the next 4.5 months we are going to deep dive into this subject, and we will go. I mean, we'll in today's first half of the session we'll just try to give you a bit of introduction into this subject, the resources that you have, how do you want to plan it out, and then we'll kind of proceed further into it. Okay? So in terms of financial reporting, we'll first give you an overview, and but how is your Josh overall? चलो अच्छा, continue, let this continue to be high. Starting में high होना is a good thing, but it should continue as well. And this is a fairly interesting paper. Currently I think to the online students, you would be in the process of receiving your books. Currently you will have your books. I'll just run you through that once. There will be a shield called as that is your concept book, where you will have, it's a colored book where you will have all the concepts. And there will be, we are just rearranging our material a little. So there will be 3 volumes, there will be 3 question banks. In the first volume, you will have all the Ind AS. Like in CA Inter, you had Ind AS? You had what? AS. So a slightly modified version, you will have the Ind AS. In your volume 1, you will have all the Ind AS. In a similar way, in your volume 2, you will have all the major chapters. Like in AS, did you have, I mean, even in your Inter, you had those big chapters, like for example, amalgamation, consolidation. Unfortunately, they are still there to haunt you. So they will be there in your volume 2. The bigger chapters will be there in your volume 2. And then in your volume 3, you will have the practice, that is homework questions, and some MCQs. So most of the students will end up focusing more on volume 1 and 2, but if you can also try the volume 3, where there will be practice questions as well as your MCQs. So this is your overall set of resources. When you look at your shield, for example, you will have this index right at the beginning, and so when I'll address, I'll have I'll have the online students and also students who have who are watching this recorded. So there's a very teeny index that is there, that continues for close to 2 pages. There is close to 35 chapters over here, right? So if you actually sit and do the math, it is impossible for the institute to ask each and every chapter, out and out impossible, because if you have 35 chapters and you have 100 marks, abhi bhi aapke liye things have become a lot more easier in a way. You have 30 marks as MCQs, 70 marks descriptive, which is roughly every chapter from descriptive can come for 2 marks, which is impossible, right? So we will kind of segregate chapters which are very probable of coming, chapters which are relatively less likely to come, but in any case coverage now and even before your papers, we will ensure that you do full coverage, because this forms a base for your overall preparation. And it is in a way for you, today is the D-Day, right? So a lot of your friends probably are sitting for their financial reporting exams as we speak, right? Today I just got had a few calls in the morning as well, panic calls, right? Okay, so that was a few months or years down, you will be sitting on a similar exam, and hopefully you will be sleeping in the morning, not really having a panic call, but nevertheless, so this is a fairly detailed and a fairly big chapter, and strategically the institute has placed it as paper 1. Now the point is, there's no other chapter, no other subject, not even DT, direct tax, which is supposed to be a fairly big chapter, which comes close to financial reporting in terms of the sheer size. Like if you do AFM, for example, AFM would have not more than, let's say, 15 topics in their index, and the same is the case with other chapters as well, other subjects, because you have 1.5 days only to prepare. But financial reporting first paper, so you have as many days you want to prepare. So institute ne load kar diya aapko. So just to give you perspective, so why I'm telling you all of this is, when you see the size of the subject, you should not be afraid कि यार ये क्या इतना सारा, ये तो पूरा CA final in one subject it seems. No, it is the first paper, and hence it is a fairly big paper. the institute modules, I don't, currently you will not have it, right? But the institute modules that come, and whenever you will issue, there are currently 5 modules of the institute, 5 books, which are just dedicated to financial reporting. To contrast it with AFM, institute has only 1 book. Only 1 book for AFM, 5 books for financial reporting. So it's a fairly big chapter subject. We have tried to concise it into 3 relevant volumes. After that, the 3rd volume is the practice one, but it is a fairly big paper. And being the first paper, you will be able to cover everything. So all the students who are giving the exam today, they would have kept 6 or 7 days before their first exam to cover financial reporting. तो वहाँ पे इतना problem नहीं होता है as compared to the other subjects, right? So over here, when you look at your, I mean, if you first look at your paper pattern from 2020-24 onwards, this is now a 100-mark paper which is subdivided into 30 marks of MCQs and 70 marks descriptive. So over here, I think most of you, almost all of you would be CA Intermediate new course only. So for you, you would have written a similar paper in your CA Inter as well. If you have taken the old course, that was not the case. Accounts paper, AFM papers never had MCQs. So now you have 30 marks for, they call it as case-based MCQs, but nevertheless these are MCQs which are 2-mark MCQs into 15 such MCQs. Fair enough? So over here, this is your MCQ. Do you think there is negative marking here? No, there was a talk earlier. Thankfully, the talk has been scrapped off. So there's no negative marking over here. I think foundation there was? Only in maths. Okay. So there is no negative marking over here, and there is 2-mark MCQs, 15 of them. And then there is a core 70-mark descriptive section. Now, in terms of preparation, we will also prepare for MCQs and descriptive, but largely if your preparation for descriptive is under control, MCQ aa jata. If your descriptive is in a problem, MCQ is also in a problem. MCQ is just that you have 4 answers you have to select. That's about it. The working has to be done in any case. So this is a 70-mark descriptive question. Over here, the paper pattern remains the same as what was there in CA Inter. Acha, question 1 would be, kya baat hai? So question 1 would be the compulsory question, which is a 14-mark. Most likely we will see what happens today also, but most likely this will be a single question only. That is, there will be a big consolidation question, or there will be one big business combination question. This is different from what you had. I mean, if you remember in CA Inter, aapko yaad hai kya ho raha tha? In accounts, you had usually first question having accounting standards. You would have amalgamation and consolidation. इसमें से अपन एक option नहीं रख सके अभी, because now it will have a compulsory question only. So if it comes, it will come in the compulsory question in all likelihood. I have not seen papers in the past so many years where they have gone out of business combination or consolidation in question 1. So they see what you do in CA Inter. They see you are studying only one of the 2 chapters. So they ensure कि नहीं final में one of them ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. So they will put that in the compulsory in all likelihood. So that will be your question number 1. Compulsory, usually a business combination, also called as amalgamation, or a consolidation question that will come. Then from question 2 to question number 6, you will have a choice to solve. So these are 5 questions. You will have a choice to solve any 4. So this is 14 into 4. That is 56 marks over here. 14 marks at the top, so 70 marks and 30 marks on the MCQs. So ये आपने full 100 score कर लिया. So over here, see, financial reporting is one paper where students have struggled to score 100. You see, last 2-3 attempts in AFM, people have actually scored 100. 100 on 100. In financial reporting, it is an achievement if you write 100 marks of your paper. Because वो paper इतना बड़ा है, it does not get over it. To give you perspective, when I wrote my paper, I could complete only 80 marks. I could not complete 20 marks of my paper, and आज आप वापस ये रोना धोना सुनोगे. It does not look good, but it is a very normal thing because it is first paper, no? So हम क्या करते हैं? Double line, box. We are in very we want to have कि भाई we are doing CA final after such a long time. Proper pencil, you ANS for answer. You don't have to do all of that. First paper later you realize that paper is not getting over. So AFM people are scribbling. But on first paper you are doing it very slowly. You are that is usually there is nervousness, right? So and you're writing an exam typically after 2.5 years, 3 years, whatever it is. So there has never been a phase जहाँ पे आप इतने दूर थे exams से. Always every 6-12 months you have an exam on your head. Now there is an exam after a long time. And you are now on your laptop, so writing speed is also relatively slow. So if I am telling you this is you ensure that you know everything, उससे ज़्यादा you complete everything. Cricket में बोलते हैं you have to play your 50 overs. That is equally important because if you don't complete, and this is a paper as compared to every other paper जो complete नहीं होता, well are unable to complete it. So getting 100 is only possible if you complete 100. So वो होता ही नहीं है. And hence you have to ensure that you have some writing speed because all throughout your article shape अपन क्या करेंगे? टाइपिंग भी नहीं करते भी आजकल तो राइट वो भी अपने को जानते हैं सो यू विल यूजुअली यूज ऑडियो और यू विल टाइप बट यू विल नॉट राइट करेक्ट सो this all comes back so you ensure you have some writing speed continuously you keep on writing a little and you write mocks you write some exams before so you know how to manage your time okay so when you look at these questions there will be some MCQs there will be some descriptive questions okay when you look at the coverage now in terms of coverage we said volume 1 is all our Ind ASs. Volume 2 has all our big chapters which also includes a few Ind ASs like technically AS 14 if you remember was amalgamation but it was also a big chapter so whatever are such big chapters you have put in volume 2 but they will be backed by some or the other accounting standard only at the end of the day. So when I look at your overall coverage in terms of the marks distribution. So when I look at the marks distribution, I will take a total of 114 marks, including the 14 marks of option that comes. So that will be 114 marks. The most important chapter, without any exception, would be the chapter on financial instruments. Every exam, this is the chapter in your index. This would be chapter number 28. The most important thing. So over here, almost certainly even in such a crowded paper they will ask you minimum 2 questions minimum ऐसा नहीं कि they leave at only 1 question for financial instruments because this is where really AS differs from Ind AS. Otherwise so it is almost the same. No, AS differs from Ind AS in a fairly meaningful way, largely attributable to financial instruments. So I would expect anywhere between a 12 to 14 mark weightage for this chapter alone. Okay, so this is very important. Then I look at the second, this is called as group accounting. Group accounting means you have holding subsidiary, you have companies which you have amalgamated. So you have business combination and you have consolidation. So over here, if you look at topic number 29, topic number 30 and topic number 31, this is group accounting. We call this as group accounting. In topic number 29, you have business combination like amalgamation. In topic 30, you have consolidation for a subsidiary. And in 31, you remember you had something like joint ventures, associates, chottu mottu. So you will have joint ventures and associates in chapter number 31. So you will have, let us say, group accounting, and over here you will expect around approximately a 20 to 24 mark weightage usually. 20 to let's say 24 mark weightage. How come 20 to 24? Usually what will happen is there is one question of either of these two which will come in the compulsory 14 marks. And then in the other part of the paper you will have another 8 to 10 mark question that will come from the other chapter. So usually institute if it asks you business combination wala compulsory, then consolidation will come for 8 to 10 marks. If it asks you consolidation compulsory, business combination will come 8 to 10 marks. Typically. So this is your, so it appears to be 20 to 24 but it's a sum total of 3 chapters. That is why, otherwise every chapter maximum 14 marks is jata, there is no chance, right? So over here, this is 10 to 12, 10 odd marks for one of the chapters, 14 marks for the other chapters, you can count. Okay, then you have, so these are your bigger chapters. Then you have another chapter called as Ind AS 115, which is on revenue recognition. Did you study revenue recognition in your CA Inter? cute little AS 9. So you had a very small topic. Now Ind AS 115 is huge. In your institute study material, it goes to into 150 pages. Just the revenue recognition standard, and it is the most commonly asked interview question. The moment you qualify, revenue recognition 115, the most commonly asked, because every company might not have a subsidiary, they might not have a amalgamate, but every company, if they have to exist, they will have a revenue. And hence the most commonly asked interview question. In the exam, you will have around 8 to 10 mark weightage for this particular chapter. Ind AS 115, 8 to, all of these are volume 2 chapters. ये सभी वॉल्यूम 2 के अंदर आएंगे. वी कॉल दिस एज मेजर चैप्टर, सो दे विल बी वॉल्यूम 2. हार्डली देयर विल बी 5-6 chapters in volume 2. Everything else is loaded in volume 1. So over here this will be around 8 to 10 marks. Then there is 116 which is on leases. Did we study leases? Yes. In AS, did you had, what were the types of leases? Finance lease, operating lease. वो concept ही निकल गया अभी. There is no concept of a finance lease or operating lease anymore under Ind AS 116 because there was a scope for manipulation. People could manipulate. आपको याद है 75% of useful life. So I will structure it in such a way कि 75% के नीचे आ जाए. I will say no, let me call it as operating. So people were misusing it. और अपने आप पे जुगाड़ तो होता ही है. So that ways people were misusing. So they said remove it, and they bring in something else, and hence. This is around 6 to 8 marks. You will usually have a question on lease. Revenue, I've seen even 2 questions coming. It will not be a 10 mark single question. It will be 6 mark one question, 4 mark another question, for example, or 6 mark descriptive, 2 mark MCQ. But usually revenue has multiple weightage. Lease, if it comes, there's a single question on lease that will come. And the next would be share-based payment. There is share-based payment. As the word goes, these are payments that you are doing in the form of shares. Any example? ESOPs. ESOP is a classic share-based payment, and the accounting for ESOP, etc. is covered in this chapter. So this is around 6 to 8 marks. Almost certainly there will be one question. Now these are all the chapters that will come almost certainly. And all of these chapters you will see are volume 2 chapters. So if you total this up, to be honest, there is also some theory, but we have put that in volume 1. Maybe 5 marks, 5 to 8 marks, some theory will come. But otherwise, these are all volume 2. Ginke, if you see 6 chapters, student kya bolega? I will study only 6. And see, if you total it up, it is around 50 to 60 marks. So that is, you can get exemption, strictly speaking, by doing only those 6 chapters. If you are that type of a person who wants to take that kind of risk. But these are all going to be the difficult ones. देखने में 6 लगते हैं, but every chapter will have around 70-80 questions, 70-80 questions at least in the classwork section, practice alert. So they are big. Don't just look at the number. They are big chapters, but they will have an almost certain weightage. Now, when I look at, this is your part 1, जो volume 2 के अंदर है पूरा. All other Ind ASs. So if you look at your index, in your index, you have taken 28, 29, 30, 31, and then you have all of this, 25 for revenue, 26 for lease, 27 for share-based payment. If you remove these topics, everything else that you see in your index is like a small accounting standards that you have segment reporting, related party. So you will have 8, 10, 15 questions in each of them. Most of them will be very manageable. So over here the thing is, एक जगह पे depth is very high, but probability of coming in exam is also almost certain. Second place, you will have overall understanding. Like if you remember fixed asset, intangible, inventory, you will have some basic thing. उसके अंदर से ही question आएगा, but वो आएगा या नहीं वो we are not sure. We are not very sure whether because there are 30 such chapters, 30 or 25 odd such chapters from which it has to come. So we are not very sure whether it will come or not, but if it comes, it is very subjective. And as a result, here you have to manage the volume. If you manage the volume, you are going to get good marks in that. So over here, all other Ind ASs into bracket including theory. Sir, what is theory? Theory is all of this. Institute said that these days focus is on technology. We need to inculcate ethics in a CA. So some topics they have put conceptual framework, etc. These are pure theory topics. topics. They will ask you pure theory. Like accounting and technology, have you heard about something called as blockchain? Recent question, explain blockchain and its use in accounting. It's a pure theory. जिसमें अपने काफी expert है. After you give BCom, you will be even more expert. You can, of one line, you can make one page. So that way, this will not pose as big of a problem. But usually theory, you will get one, maximum 2 questions of 4 to 8 marks. So your weightage of theory will not go beyond 4 to 8 marks. And everything else is going to go into your Ind AS. So all other Ind AS into bracket, including theory. This will go for another 50 to 60 marks. So approximately at the top, if you total around 50 to 60 marks hota hai. So half weightage, exactly. Volume 2 half weightage, volume 1 half weightage. Volume 2 ginke 6 jo bhi chapters. Volume 1 has all the other chapters, but they will be small chapters. So when we do our preparation, what we'll do is we'll kind of interchange. We will do a few Ind ASes, then we will do big chapters. फिर आप थक जाओगे. फिर we will go to small Ind ASes. फिर वापस we'll do a big chapter. फिर वापस आप थक जाओगे. So we'll kind of alternate, and that is also the strategy you should use when you are revising. Don't do all of them together at one go, all Ind ASes, or you don't do all of the big chapters at one go. Alternate. We'll share you the plan, etc. as well. Okay? So are we clear? So this is around 50 to 60 marks when we look at your weightage for all other Ind ASes. When I say all other Ind ASes, it includes this entire section. पीछे का जो part है, this is all theory. This we could say is the theory part, and all the other first 24 odd topics would be all your other Ind ASes when we say. Are we clear with what is our overall subject breakup? Okay. Any questions? Any queries still? No? Okay. Online, any problems? Okay. So in terms, they are a little bit independent. Like you look at group accounting, it's similar to your amalgamation consolidation only, like you had in your inter-CA. So, okay. So this is regarding the split of your main exam or main paper. Now, in terms of the resources, now the problem that you will face almost certainly in a financial reporting paper would be that by the time you do the class and by the time your exam comes, there will be a fairly big gap, and we forget on a FIFO basis. So that is, we will, whatever we study first, we forget first. So it will be very normal, and this is a problem that we face in a lot of CA final students, because you're never ever exposed to this kind of gap ever. Every time you have given an exam, it is in a cycle of 12 months. You started preparing, foundation came in 12 months. You started preparing, intermediate came in 12 months. BCom वगैरह तो आप पढ़ते ही नहीं, तो बात ही अलग है. But nevertheless, the cycle was always you prepared, exam came. You prepared, exam came. अभी यहाँ पे you are preparing, you are sleeping, you are going to articleship, and then exam is 2.5 years away. So by the time you sit to revise, a lot of things would have evaporated. And by that time you will have self-doubt. You will start questioning कि यार मैंने क्लास इतना जल्दी क्यों की, मेरे को कुछ याद नहीं. उसका कोई एंड नहीं है. You can't do class in the last 6 months. No, it is impossible. It is more relevant that you do it early. You have more surface area to revise. So it is very normal for you to know the broad things, but at the same time you will find it when you sit to revise. अरे highlight किसने किया? I don't remember, right? So that way there will be a problem, and this is normal. Okay, you will find that problem when you are sitting to revise. So how do you tackle that problem? So in your Google Drive and even in your books, we will give you the study planner, or every chapter how many days you should take, how many hours, etc. But before that, what you will do is on YouTube we will have the revision videos for each and every topic. So there will be, you ensure that you kind of watch that revision video. So on our channel, let's say Bhavik Chokshi, you will have a playlist जहाँ पे हर एक chapter का we will have a revision video. Like for example, the smaller chapters will get done in around time पे आने का थोड़ा. So over here for the smaller chapters you will have 30 minutes to 1 hour max. For the bigger chapters, you will have around 2 to 3 hours. So in that, your revision is done, your entire concept is revised, and you sit to revise. So that is a very important resource that you can sit with, so that you kind of recollect and then you start. Other than that, what you have is, and this is what I want you to review on a regular basis. See, that textbook revision that you do, like you're in your intermediate foundation, is not going to happen in your final CA till the time you actually sit for your study leave, because you will have articleship, and with articleship तो आपका firm आपके ऊपर ही चलता है, quite literally, right? Articles run the firm, right? Partner का तो सिर्फ sign करना ही काम. So over here you have a lot of work. So that way in the morning you will have, let us say your class, let us say the FR class, or later you will have AFM or DT or whatever it is. In the morning you will use for watching lectures. In the evening you will want to study, but by the time you reach home you would want to sleep, right? So that way in the evening if you get some time you optimize it, but वो proper जो revision होता है ना एक साथ बैठने का, वो होता ही नहीं, और वो सोचना कि हम करेंगे is a little wishful. So forget that. So what do? You kind of try to brush upon as much as possible whenever you can. So let's say your FR gets done, you are waiting and you're doing your DT, you are doing your IDT, you are doing your audit, whatever. If possible, when you have, let us say half an hour or so, and you're just traveling, rather than binge watching some cringe content, right? So you can probably quickly watch a revision video. You don't sit and solve sums, that's fine, but what concepts आपके mind में रहेंगे, those words will not go away. And if you have even lesser time, what we have tried to do is, on Spotify we have an audio summary. So audio pods are much more shorter. So what happens in, let us say for the smaller chapter, what takes half an hour to 1 hour on YouTube, this detailed, will get done in less than 10 minutes as an audio note. For the bigger chapters, what takes 3 hours on YouTube will get done in 20 to 25 minutes on audio notes. So if you, there's a refresher series karke hai, so you can just hear that, and that is what you have to kind of do throughout before you sit for your study leave. So those concepts are fresh. Once that concepts are fresh, आपको revision में इतना problem नहीं होगा. Otherwise, there will be a lot of chaos the moment you sit to revise. ठीक है? So these are two resources that you can probably bank upon. Okay. Now there is a possibility by the time you sit for the exam, there may be certain changes, like DT etc. There is a lot of budget related amendments. FR, AFM does not have budgets, but it has accounting standards, and there can be new standards that can come in. As we speak, there are 2 standards under works which are likely to come in before you write the exam, depending on when your exam is. So I'm not doing it. We will do it throughout the course, and if your attempt is, for example, 28, 29, then it might be applicable. If it is 27, it might not be applicable. So that I will keep for the end, but we will do that. So there are 2 standards which are under the works. One is the standard on insurance, IFRS 17, Ind AS 117. Insurance standard for you to be applicable, I think it is unlikely, because it is very, very technical. So institute will not ask you, in my understanding. But if it comes, we will do that. And second is IFRS 18, which is Ind AS 118, which is kind of a replacement to your Ind AS 1, where they will try to explain regarding presentation what is there. So these are the 2 standards which are under works. Now the question is, how will you check up all the amendments? Now, for all the recorded students, you are viewing from Google Drive only. For you, the live as well as face-to-face, you will have a backup link. In case you miss a lecture, you can watch it on the backup. So over there only, there will be a folder of amendments. In that folder of amendments, every change that has happened will be included, including a new Ind AS that comes even after your batch, including sums that might change because of that, but that is very limited impact, I believe. Or what happens is, there will be a lot of RTPs. And RTPs kiya अपन revisionary test papers. There's RTP, MTP and main exam. Usually in FR, institute asks you the highest new questions in RTPs. MTP is almost always a repetition of what is there in your material. मैंने अब तक MTP में कोई खास new questions नहीं देखे. They're just repeated questions. In main exams also there is very limited new questions. The absolute new questions usually come in RTP. So every attempt we issue a video on YouTube. We'll also upload that, so there's a playlist there. Otherwise, on your amendments, so that's not technically an amendment, but there'll be new sums that will come in your RTP. So whatever are the new sums, for that there'll be a video. So when you sit to revise, apart from your main content, you have to also refer the amendment video. So that is a necessary resource. So if your exam is, for example, in 28, for example, then when you sit for your study leave, let's say in 27, and you sit to revise, apart from the main resources, आपको amendment का folder देखना ही देखना, right? So, and don't kind of say that okay, we'll wait till the 10. It is a very, very bad strategy to wait till the end. You don't want to load all the 6 subjects at the end, right? So there'll be an amendment folder on your Google Drive, and it will also be there on YouTube. Usually the shorter amendments we put on YouTube only directly if it is less than an hour. If it is the longer ones, they will be there on your Google Drive. So, and this will be open. You can, irrespective of your validity, you can view this. So that is where you view your amendments. Okay. In terms of the notes, whatever I write over here, these are board notes. So all your board notes also we will upload on your Google Drive. That does not mean you don't write anything down because you get it, because otherwise देखो मेरा handwriting क्या है, आपका तो इतना अच्छा handwriting है. So if you write in your own handwriting, you remember better, you have writing speed, you have writing practice, and at the same time it is much more better to kind of revise. And class में नींद भी नहीं आएगी, right, if you write a little. But in any case, if you are of those lazy types, you will have these board notes which will be shared on your Google Drive in any case. Okay. In terms of doubts, I'll share with you. There'll be WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups. I'm also there on those, and you can be a part of that. So as and when you revise, ideally doubt आना चाहिए, नहीं आया तो problem है, right? So ideally you will have doubts, and you can address those doubts using the WhatsApp or the Telegram. I think we will share that to you in your email along with that backup का जो access details आएगा, or your Google Drive link. There would be groups, and you can just, depending on what your attempt is, join those groups for the time being. अभी के लिए पढ़ रहे नहीं है तो म्यूट करके रख सकते हो, and later when you are studying you can probably review what is happening. Okay. So that is pertaining to the resources other than these 3 books that you will have to refer. So you'll have to refer the revision video surely. You'll have to refer the audio notes to ensure that you kind of are at speed, and if you don't have half an hour, 1 hour, you're just waiting to go to a quickly, you can just refer an audio note and it really helps. Amendments, whatever changes are going to be there on your Google Drive and YouTube. If you have your doubts on WhatsApp as well as on Telegram, is where your doubts will be resolved. Okay. So this is the thing, board notes will be there on your Google Drive. Apart from that, throughout the course I'll tell you, but there will be a study planner where we will tell you, especially this is helpful for the G Drive students more than the face-to-face students. I assume if you are face-to-face, you will come daily, right? Okay, so for you it goes in schedule, but for a G Drive student, unke hath mein, in 1 day you can watch 1 lecture, in 1 week you can watch 1 lecture, or 1 month you can watch 1 lecture, right? So that way there's a planner first for the lectures while you watch it. It will be there, I think, in one of the books. I think volume 1 if I'm not wrong, but for the lectures, depending on how much you want to complete, there'll be a planner then for your revision, which will take around 15 odd days. First revision, that will be applicable for you as well, and then pre-exam what you have to do. So there will be 3 study planners. One is for the lectures itself, one is for the first revision, and based on that, second revision, and then the pre-exam. So these are the things that we can probably look at. So these are the planners that you will have. Okay, anything else? Anything you have? Okay, so these are the things, your paper pattern. In terms of the challenging level, usually financial reporting papers are not difficult. Usually audit papers are difficult. Usually sometimes AFM papers get difficult, DT papers get difficult, but FR papers, bearing 2 or 3 attempts. I've seen November 23 attempt being a fairly tricky paper, November 20 being a fairly tricky paper, but bearing that, most of the papers are not tricky. So you can, most likely your papers would be under control if you refer this book. Beyond this, you don't have to refer anything because we have tried to cover everything from your study material, from your MTPs, from your RTPs, from your past exam. Everything is there in these books, so you don't have to refer it again from any other material. Okay? And most likely in FRS compared to other papers, it is very unlikely that the institute deviates a lot because volume इतना ज़्यादा है कि student volume ही नहीं पढ़ पाता है. So if you have studied everything, most of the things come which is addressable from that. ठीक है? So this is regarding the paper. Okay. Now before we start, a bit of introduction about myself as well, and we'll then jump into the main material. Okay? So myself Bhavik, and thank you very much first of all for trusting me with your financial reporting. And I've been teaching since a fairly long time. So when I was your age or even earlier, that is when I started teaching. So all throughout my college I've taught, and I've kind of I've really literally taught at that point for pocket money, and then it kind of developed into a passion. But I used to teach since a very early age. I've taught people from the 3rd grade all the way to CFA level 3 or CA final as the case may be. So there's a fairly wide. So I used to teach almost all subjects. I mean, except for Hindi, Marathi. I used to teach almost every paper, science, history, geography we had, civics also we had. I don't know, abhi aajkal to nahi hai na wo subject. So then I kind of got into CA. फिर those I kind of जोश में मैंने I was in NM college, और NM college में बहुत प्रेशर होता है. मैंने ओरिजिनली तो ऐसा कुछ खास प्लान किया नहीं था, बट NM मैंने स्टार्टेड ऐसा एवरीथिंग टिल दैट टाइम क्या करने वाला है CA, बट व्हेन NM तो CA इज नॉर्मल, तो CA तो करना ही है. तो देन देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ प्रेशर कि भाई CA है तो और कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा. सो साथ एवरीवन वाज डूइंग CS, सो आई एक्चुअली did CS together. To be honest, I did it together and it acted like a prelim for my CA. So I would give CS first, then CA, then, and subjects overlap hote. So that ways I kind of did my CS and then my CA. But I got very, very interested in finance. When I kind of was studying for CA, I kind of realized that I want to do something surely in finance. And along with my CA, after my CA rather, I kind of even did my CFA. So I kind of did my CA final, and I was blessed to have an All India rank in my CA final. And why I'm telling you this is I did not get a rank at any other level earlier, not even close to it in my earlier levels, but CA final I got a rank. And this is a story that repeats attempt after attempt, year after year, that you see so many students who have not got ranks at earlier levels suddenly getting ranks at their CA final. And the reason is because at CA final you have a long time, so the best of the minds are probably distracted. But if you manage to study properly na at CA final, देखो वो time इतना ज़्यादा है, maybe someone is in a big four, someone is working too hard, whatever it is, they are not as disciplined to continue for 2 or even in this attempt we had our AIR 19. She was not a rank holder at her foundation, intermediate, nothing. In the earlier attempt we had our AR 9, not a rank holder at earlier levels, and became a rank holder at finals. Yes, suddenly. And I can tell you because I want you कि आपके पास अभी time है. Everyone will study in the last 6-8 months. Not everyone will get that rank. If you want to get that rank, you have to just study before that. That is my limited experience. The person who, and you don't have to entirely, आप Snapchat use करते हैं, Snapchat पे streak होता है, आप streak maintain करते हैं, कभी कभार करते नहीं करते चलो वो निकल गया. A lot of kids do that, कुछ इधर उधर का फोटो खींच के you maintain a streak with your friend. All you have to do is you have to maintain a streak of just opening your book daily. It can be for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. आपको पता ही नहीं चलेगा वो आदत कैसे कंपाउंड होता है. और the आदत of not opening the book also compounds, right? So that ways you have to ensure that you just open for formality, just read one question, that's fine. बट एक बार आपने बुक खोल दिया ना तो एक क्वेश्चन पे नहीं रुकता है यूजुअली, इवेंचुअली. बट वो बुक खुलता ही नहीं है ना, बुक किधर धूल खा रहा है. सो दैट वेज यू हैव टू एंश्योर दैट I mean, in my experience, I did not get a rank earlier at all. So generally the thought is, अच्छा you are वो तो rank holder नहीं था. I was very far away from my ranks in my earlier levels, and हमारे time तो foundation पे भी rank आता था. यानी P1 बोलते थे तभी. So and there are so many kids who have done this suddenly at CA final, because CA final is this 2 and 3 year gap where most of the kids are not studying. But if you are, you get that unfair advantage. So I'm not saying that you sacrifice everything, don't do anything for 3 years. No, it does not work. You just open your book daily. Whatever time you are investing, you invest in the usual manner. Just ensure you open it. And listening to lectures is not opening your book. Listening to lecture मैं मेरा काम कर रहा हूँ, आपका काम नहीं हो रहा है. आपका काम देखो, कोई भी आपको पढ़ाए, पास आप करोगे, आपके मेहनत से करोगे. I teach so many students. Not every student is going to get AR 1 2 3. If they get AR 1 2 3, it is not my effort. I've taught everyone. It is the effort. हम उसका क्रेडिट ले लेते हैं, बट क्रेडिट तो स्टूडेंट का है, राइट? एट द एंड वो स्टूडेंट ने पढ़ाई की है. सो ओवर हियर एंड इन द लास्ट ईयर वी वर ब्लेस्ड टू हैव 2 attempts where we had consecutive AR 1 2 3. So that ways, I'm telling you that this is very much possible for you as well, where you kind of ensure that you have that discipline slowly थोड़ा थोड़ा पढ़ने का and ensure करने का. You pick up your book on a daily basis. And हमारे अर्लियर बैचेस में तो लोग यहाँ पे बुक छोड़ के जाते थे. मैं बोला वाह क्या पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं. सो पीपल आर लेके हु विल कैरी द बुक्स टू ऑफिस, इट इज वेरी हैवी. सो अभी अपने पढ़ेंगे कहाँ से? सो यू हैव टू एंश्योर दैट यू काइंड ऑफ touch upon the matter throughout, and it will kind of compound. And this is probably for most of you the last time you are going to study, right? आपने बचपन से किया क्या? पढ़ाई किया, right? So you only studied and now you are moving from studying to working, right? So this is your last, it is like your pinnacle, you see your grand climax of your academic journey. Now people might have told you earlier, अरे बेटा 10th कर ले, life set, कुछ नहीं हुआ. But I'm telling you, this is your pinnacle of academic journey. After this, you're not going to study. And if this is the last time, might as well it be the best time. So I still recollect that time when I kind of saw my result, and that is something that sticks to me now. My 10th result does not, my 12th result does not, but this does. And this is one memorable result you can create. If you study early, you study late, you will probably pass. Or if you don't pass, it's a very painful journey then. But if you study early, then the sky is the limit. You don't restrict yourself कि भाई मेरे से तो नहीं होगा. नहीं, आपके पहले बहुत लोगों ने केस स्टडी है. Every attempt you will find out of the 100-130 ranks, minimum 10 of them, 10 to 15 of them are first time rank holders. Because that usually does not happen in other exams, but because there is this big gap and you have managed that gap properly, वही आपको अच्छे से करना. Okay, after that kind of as I said, after my CA final I started doing my CFA, and I was lucky to get into Morgan Stanley, into their investment banking teams, and Morgan Stanley sponsors CFA. So that was हमारे लिए वो अच्छा हो गया था. So that was CFA is a very very expensive course per se, but they kind of sponsor, and they were very unique thing. So if you pass, they pay. If you fail, we pay. So that was, there is a double pressure for you to clear. So they will give you the fees only if you kind of clear, right? Okay. So I kind of started my CFA actually after I did my CA, and after that I worked for a few years in Morgan Stanley. Then I moved on into JM Financial, also into their investment banking teams. I had a fairly good experience there, and even then I was teaching. I used to teach on weekends. Then I used to teach CFA because CA का सिर्फ तभी नहीं हो रहा था. On weekends was very difficult. So I used to teach CFA then. But I used to always teach, and after a few years of working, this got the better of me, and I kind of decided to jump into teaching while I decided to get married. So that was, I had, so I and my wife used to, my now wife and then my special one, we used to study together, but अभी हमारे को फिर शादी करने का टाइम है, and people, I decided कि भाई पहले you will not believe. So we knew कि ऐसा मेरे को, I need to take the plunge, but at that time people are little reluctant कि लड़का क्या कर रहा है. शादी वादी हमारा डिसाइड हुआ, शादी का कार्ड गया. After that I left my job. So I said abhi to there is no looking back. So just 2 weeks before my marriage I decided that is it. Now no one can go back, right? So that was a fully hedged strategy. So after that it was I kind of moved into teaching full time, and Since then, I think since 2012 onwards, I've been kind of into teaching CA, CFA, and a lot of things. So I would really want to share my experience with you and share all the insights that we have developed over these years. And we'll have a fairly interesting journey. And you will kind of, and you have graduated a lot, right? आपने start कहाँ से किया था? You were doing bookkeeping. उससे आप पहुँचे accounting. Then in intermediate advanced accounting, and now you are at financial reporting, right? So नाम change हो रहा है, debit credit अभी भी वही है. So otherwise you are still in your debits and credits, but you have now at financial reporting. It's no longer bookkeeping or journaling. It is no longer basic accounting. It is no longer एक ज़माने में याद है you used to do rectification, wrong entry, reverse entry, क्या time pass है, correct entry. So you were doing all of this, right? So that was bookkeeping. You were just trying to get your basics on accounting. Now you are deciding that what you are going to do in your article sheet. What do you do? What you are going to do is going to go into the annual report. And what goes into the annual report, आपको अभी उसका वैल्यू नहीं समझ में आ रहा. I'm telling you, you are thinking क्या टाइम पास कर. Every when I was article ये सब करके क्या फायदा? When you become a financial analyst, a lot of people want to make their career in finance. You want to analyze a company. The only thing you have to analyze in a company is their balance sheet. The annual report is your holy grail. It is your Bible, whatever. It is what you, if you want to decide to invest. In fact, when you do your CFA, CFA लगता तो finance का कोर्स है ना, सबसे important subject उधर कौन सा है? Financial statement analysis. The paper on studying financial statements trumps all other papers of derivatives. It is the most important paper having the highest weightage over there, because financial statement analysis is something which is very, you need to understand your financial statements, because that is literally the only thing you have of a company before you put in your money. And if you are in finance, mutual fund, private equity, this is where you are going to start. Sure, and that is why audit per se is a very boring field. A lot of people, when they enter into audit, उसके बाद थोड़ा reality आता है. But the advantage of that is you understand how numbers flow in the financial statements. A particular event, how that triggers and how it impacts the financial statements is very, very important. And as a result, this is a subject which forms a basis. You want to do income tax? Income tax का computation of income भी इससे ही बनता है. क्या allow करना, क्या disallow करना? You don't know what is there in front. You can't allow, disallow certain things. When you do finance, you want to do financial, and it starts from here. Everything starts from here. It is kind of, it is not a career you will make. Like you don't want to be an accountant all your life. मुनीम नहीं बनना है. But if you don't know accounting, you are going to struggle whether you go in tax, whether you go in finance. You are going to struggle. Even MBA, finance has so much emphasis only on financial reporting. And it is, that is why it is financial reporting now. It is no longer accounting. It is no longer debits and credits. It is now understanding how what you do goes into the financial statements, how it gets reported, and from that reporting, how decision making actually happens. Whether I invest in a company or I reject a company, whether this is a company good for acquisition, whether it is to be rejected, all of that is from, let us say, the financial statements of the company. Barabar, so it's a fairly important subject, and give it its due. Don't really just scrape through it. अच्छे से पढ़ो, समझो, and it can really help you a lot. Okay, so I kind of worked in Morgan Stanley, JM Financial in the investment banking teams, and when I'm not really teaching, I do really like to do a lot of swimming. So I have been a professional swimmer while I was in college. Just before I started CA, I dropped swimming because CA got the better of me. But then later I continued, and today I do a lot of ocean water, open water बोलते हैं, rivers है, ocean है, उधर we do a lot of swimming professionally, and we kind of like to do some bit of travel as well. So we do a lot of backpack travel, open-ended एकदम. एंड ये सब लग्जरी आप अफोर्ड कर सकते हो एक बार आप सीए बन जाओ तो. बिफोर सीए अवर डायमीटर वुड बी लोनावला, माथेरान. वो फिर वो डायमीटर एक्सपेंड होता है, राइट? सो अलीबाग से थोड़े अपने बाहर निकलेंगे. सो इट इज अ गुड probably motivation for you to kind of push a little harder and kind of increase your diameter of travel as well. Okay, so we'll discuss more during the course, but that is a bit about me and a bit about the course. So abhi apne nariyal tod sakte? Yes, we'll start, and today we'll just do a basic introduction to Ind AS. Your first topic is introduction to Ind AS and the applicability wo kisko lagta hai, and from tomorrow we'll jump into the main content. Okay, so first is introduction to Ind AS. This is the applicability, and Uh, so how many of you do articleship in audit? Vast majority. Some of you are doing in tax. Some of you doing that dummy. Right? Okay. Dummy वाले हाथ नहीं उठाएंगे. T-shirt पहन के समझ में आएगा. Right? Okay. No, nevertheless, I know you are working from home. Don't worry. So when you are looking at audit, how many of you have done Ind AS? Just a few of them, right? And that is, so when you look at, let us say, service tax, VAT, which was there earlier, now it is replaced by what? It is replaced. GST replaced all the other earlier indirect taxes, VAT, service tax, excise, etc. But the fact that you're doing your audits, few of you have done Ind AS, most of you have not. Ind AS does not replace AS. It is a parallel track application. So AS is also applicable, Ind AS is also applicable. So we first want to understand what is Ind AS, why is Ind AS needed, and to whom is Ind AS applicable. After that, we jump into the main course. Okay. So what do you guys think? Ind AS is applicable to which companies? The bigger ones or to the smaller ones? Bigger ones. The smaller ones still continue under accounting standards, and hence institute what it does is it has to teach you both of them. So it dumps all the accounting standards, all of them now, into your CA intermediate. So if you are handling a smaller client, you have all the understanding of accounting standards, and the moment you go to a bigger, what bigger threshold we will see, but the moment you go to a bigger client, you need to know Ind AS, and that is where you study your entire final CA, only study about Ind AS. Are we clear with this? Now when we look at Ind AS में क्या कमी था? What is the problem in AS? Why did you want to go into Ind AS in the first place? What is Ind AS? And why did you want to go to Ind AS? What is the problem with AS? Sorry? AS, all statements under AS would be uniformly presented internationally. So now the thing is, recently, over the last decades or 1 or 2 decades, India has seen a lot of foreign institutional inflow. A lot of, आपने FDI सुना? Foreign direct investment or FII, foreign institutional investment. Foreign direct investment is companies like Walmart coming and acquiring Flipkart, for example, directly acquiring an Indian company. Or in stock market, you will see a lot of FIIs like Citi, Franklin Templeton acquiring shares. Now, you think these foreign companies are going to put in a lot of their money in the very small companies or the very big ones? Big one. So you might have a small Kirana store nearby. He might be owning a company. Do you think a foreign capital is going to come inside that? So we are saying, what is the point of restating their working into some international framework? However, but if you look at some bigger companies, you think there's a possibility of big foreign money coming in the bigger companies? And hence they say, let the bigger companies be speaking something different than accounting standards. So AS is applicable, it is an Indian framework, it is applicable largely to the smaller companies. But when you look at the bigger companies where foreign capital can possibly come in, we want a slightly different reporting framework, and hence Ind AS. Achha, internationally, any specific standard you are aware of which is applicable internationally? There's something called as IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards. Are we following IFRS in India? No, we are following Ind AS. We are neither following AS, we are not even following IFRS. What we are trying to do is we are following Ind AS. Now what is Ind AS? Basically Ind AS is IFRS. Between AS and Ind AS there are more than 500 different points of differences. So when you are looking at, let us say, IFRS and AS, there are more than 400-500 differences. So there is a lot of difference. But when you look at Ind AS and IFRS, there is a very small, there are hardly 10 to 12 differences between IFRS and, for example, Ind AS, and the reason for these differences we will discuss. But the point is, why do we want to go to IFRS? Why do we want to go to IFRS? Like, just to kind of give you a perspective, you guys like travel? अच्छा, जैसे CA के बाद अपना bucket list एक होएगा. If you want to tick off our bucket list, let's say someone says you want to go abroad, किधर जाना है अपने को? हवाई जाना है, US जाना है. Then, so we want to go to, let us say, some places like people want to go to New Zealand, Switzerland, Australia, UK, etc. So these are typical places where people like to go, right? Okay. You want to go to North Korea? relatively less likely. You want to go to Mongolia, I mean it's offbeat, but people don't go as often. Russia, people don't go as often. People want to go to Venezuela now. Right, okay. So that ways people don't really what do you say, want to go to countries. I mean China that ways is a fairly beautiful country, but not many people go to China. Why? Language barrier, among other things. You would say language barrier है, उधर क्या खा लेगे समझेगा नहीं, right? That was किधर जाएगा. So that way there's a language barrier, and you are reluctant to spend 2 weeks of your time in a country whose language you don't understand. When you go to US, UK, Switzerland, England, what, there's one common thing about ठीक है, there is some English, we will understand what is happening to us. So that ways, when you have to just spend 1 or 2 weeks of your holiday time, a lot of people are reluctant to going to countries whose language that they are not comfortable with. So if you have to invest millions of dollars into a company, I will not invest it in a company whose language I don't understand. But do companies speak language? Yes, they do. They speak it through their financial statements. When they prepare their profit and loss, they prepare it as per a particular language, that is as per a particular accounting standard. Now, if I am a US investor, if I am a European investor, I want to invest in an Indian company, the first thing I look at in the Indian company is its financial statements. And I see it is prepared as per AS. Now, I don't know what AS is. So I am like, यार मेरे को समझेगा नहीं कि इसमें जो profit है, is it a reliable profit or not? I don't know what they are allowing, what they are not allowing. I don't, तो छोड़ना है. I will invest in another company in Australia or in some other country जहाँ पे language I understand. And hence I saw that a lot of big foreign investors were not coming in India merely because our statements were not prepared in their language. So we said, okay, let us move. You understand the reason why we want to move? So we said, let us move from our language to a much more understandable language. IFRS, to give you perspective, is applicable in close to 150 countries on the planet. Out of the 210 countries on the planet, 150 have IFRS. And that ways, every major international investor understands IFRS. So if your accounting is as per IFRS, an international investor will not really mind looking at your statements and then deciding whether to buy or sell. But पहले देखना तो चाहिए. Initial stage पे filter out नहीं हो जाना चाहिए. And as a result, we decided that we want to move to IFRS. Now IFRS is very, in a way, complex. Like आपने देखा रेवेन्यू इतना छोटा सा क्यूट सा स्टैंडर्ड था, क्या हालत करके रखा. There's a small AS9 which is very cute and which says record revenue and risk and reward is transferred. वो स्टेज आते आते आपके क्लास में 15 से 20 घंटे लग जाएंगे. बिफोर आई विल टेल यू व्हेन टू रिकॉग्नाइज रेवेन्यू. वो इतना सारा छोटा छोटा चीज. आपने AS13 पढ़ा था, इन्वेस्टमेंट, क्या उसमें बड़ा बात है. उसके बदले फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, ये इतना कॉम्प्लिकेशन. बट सो दैट इज व्हेन दे सेड, यार इतना कॉम्प्लिकेशन, व्हाई डू आई वांट अ स्मॉल इन्वेस्टर, स्मॉल कंपनी टू डू दैट. दिस कॉम्प्लिकेशन शुड मेक सेंस फॉर कंपनीज व्हिच कैन अट्रैक्ट फॉरेन कैपिटल. If they are attracting Indian capital, Indian investors know accounting standards. I don't want to tax them by doing such complex accounting. Let them, and that is why parallel path will continue. ऐसा नहीं है, देखो लोग क्या बोलते हैं कि हाँ sooner or later everyone will follow Ind AS. They will not follow Ind AS sooner or later. That parallel applicability will continue. Are we understanding? And hence you will continue how you define bigger companies might change, but the bigger companies will still be under Ind AS. The smaller companies I will not put burden. I will let them go under AS, which is a much more simplified framework as compared to Ind AS, which is a much more complex framework. And hence we have done parallel application. Sir, but we are hearing Ind AS, why not IFRS directly? ICAI decided that between IFRS we can adopt IFRS. But IFRS बनाया किसने है? IASB. Who is IASB? International Accounting Standards Board, which is a UK based company. Now a UK based company or an institution, they will not understand some problems which are there in developing countries or which are unique to India per se. So we say, okay, they have made their accounting standards, but there are certain problems that are unique to India which are not covered fairly over there, and they have identified around 10 to 12 such problems. That's it. So आप Google अब भी करोगे ना, carve out बोलते हैं. Carve out का मतलब this entire body is same as IFRS. See these 12 differences. So I tell my international investor, तुम ये 12 चीज पढ़ लो. That is when you understand the statement. That's about it. But that is why there is a carve out. I carve out 12 treatments from IFRS and apply my own treatments. For example, in India, is inflation a reality? When you see rental agreements, have you seen escalation clauses? Very normal, because India mein inflation is relatively high. But you look at UK, you look at Japan, you look at US, 0.2% inflation, 0.5. जापान में तो डिफ्लेशन. आप क्या आधे टके के लिए एस्केलेशन डालोगे? So for 0.2%, no one puts escalation. So that problem of inflation is not as profound as it is in India, for example. So they have not bothered a lot about it. So we say नहीं, हमारे को treatment थोड़ा अलग करना पड़ेगा. Or, I mean, I'm not sure whether you remember or not. When you do amalgamation, you have purchase consideration. Let us say purchase consideration is 100 rupees. You take over net assets of a company. Net assets of a company is 80 rupees. But there's a 20 difference. Where does it go? क्या बात है, you remember? But let's say it's the other way around. 100 rupees of consideration, 120 worth of net assets. Capital reserve. Why capital reserve? Why not P&L? सन्नाटा हो गया. हमने सोचा ही नहीं, हमारे को बोला कैपिटल रिजर्व डाल दिया. नहीं, दैट इज व्हाट वी वांट यू टू थिंक. ओके, थ्रू आउट दिस कोर्स आई विल नॉट जस्ट टेल यू कि ये करना है. इट इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट एट दिस स्टेज टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई वी हैव टू डू इट, राइट? द लॉजिक बिहाइंड व्हाई दिस हैपेंस. काइंड ऑफ लोग बोलते हैं ना, वी शुड स्टडी कॉन्सेप्चुअली. हाउ डू यू स्टडी कॉन्सेप्चुअली? नॉट बाय एक्सेप्टिंग व्हाट इज देयर, बाय आस्किंग व्हाई दिस, व्हाई नॉट दिस. Out of 10 things you will get the answer for 5 or 6, but that is when your mind will work in a way कि why this, why not? अच्छा ये क्यों नहीं है? Why not P&L? Ideally तो profit है. For something which is 120, I'm paying only 100 rupees. Ideally there's a 20 rupee profit. Profit तो जाना चाहिए P&L में. Why is it going into capital reserve? It is because it is the only place which is a profit on purchase. Everywhere else it's a profit on. When you go to a store and you have a sale of 100 rupees product, you buy it for 50 rupees. आप 50 का गेन नहीं रिकॉर्ड करते हो. It's a profit on purchase. अच्छा, you will record the inventory at 50. Then later when you sell it, you record a profit. Profit is always recorded at the time of. This is the only place where you record a profit on purchase. And standard says no, we can't take a profit on purchase on distributable profit. It is very risky. I've purchased a company. By the way, yes, for a company, I have its net assets is 120. I have to double entry. I have to record it 120, but I'm paying only 120. Has to go somewhere. But I can't take it into P&L because if I take it into P&L, it will be a part of my distributable profit. But it's a profit on purchase. How can I distribute a profit on? अब समझ रहे हो conceptually? And as a result, we say no, it has to go into capital reserve. Are we getting this? तो वो अपन बाद में चलो. We'll come back. Even Ind AS tells you that. We'll come back to that. But IFRS has a slightly different treatment. IFRS says no, even if it is a profit on purchase, let it be an exception, we will take it in the profit and loss account. We still don't agree as Indian regulators because we have jugadu mindset. It is literally written in the carve out. It is written in the jugadu ऐसा नहीं लिखा हुआ है, but we have written that if you allow a profit like this to be taken to P&L, this will give rise to artificial restructurings. People will actually restructure just to create a profit. हाँ चल इसको खरीदते ऐसा करते profit दिखा देते. So we said no. भले IFRS allows it to be taken into capital reserve, we will not take. IFRS allows it to be taken to P&L, we will not take it to P&L. We will take it into capital reserve. तो ये difference हुआ. This is one of those 12 differences. So they will tell you, you read these 12 things, and beyond this, there is no difference at all. Your entire numbering, paragraph number, standard number is exactly same as what you have in IFRS. And that is why, if you see, ये number आपको देखते हो उटपटांग number. You have 1 के बाद logically 2 के बाद logically 7. का बीच में किधर चले गया? 7, 8, 9 उड़ गया. So you have this, you remember essays you would have studied? ये कुछ भी नंबर दे दिया. So in a similar way over here, you will see what is the point. AS was very chronological. 1, 2, 3 वगैरह जो 1, 2 standards were not there. 6 and 8 were removed. But other than that, everything flew logically. यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है. Why? Because we have to maintain consistency with the IFRS numbering. If IFRS numbers something as 16, we will also number it at 16. अभी बीच में 15, 12. See, if you go to see 12 के बाद डायरेक्ट 16 आ जाता है. तो बीच में there could have been 13, 14. वो है ही नहीं. IFRS numbering is not there, so our numbering, and that is why the numbering you will see is a little off. It is not a chronological numbering. And वहाँ पे और एक तकलीफ है. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 गाड़ी ठीक ठाक चलता है till 41. उसके बाद डायरेक्टली सेंचुरी. So over here what happens is till that. After that you have 101, 105, 108, etc. So what happened is till around 2002, the standards were called as IAS. IAS is International Accounting Standards. After 2002, जो भी नए standards issue हुए, whichever were the new standards, they started calling it as IFRS. So problem happened that there is an IAS 16 called as PPE, international. Actually, there's an International Accounting Standard 16, which is PP, Property, Plant and Equipment. But there's also an IFRS 16 called as leases. So अभी तो 216 हो गया. And hence what I do is I call Ind AS 16. This must be the same as IAS 16. And then there is 116. This must be IFRS 16. And hence वो 100 वाला numbering आ गया. Like you had Ind AS 2, which is on inventories. But there's IFRS 2, which is share-based payment. So Ind AS 2 is still IAS 2. But when you look at 102, this must be IFRS 2. This is not there technically in your syllabus, but it is always important to know कि ऐसा क्यों है. By why is this numbering such off? It is because if you actually go up and work into a company which has IFRS reporting, अरे मेरे को IFRS वापस पढ़ना पड़ेगा, नहीं पढ़ना पड़ेगा. You exactly go to that same place. वो पूरा जो स्टैंडर्ड है ना, स्टैंडर्ड के अंदर जैसे इन इनकम टैक्स यू हैव सेक्शंस, स्टैंडर्ड के अंदर यू हैव पैरा नंबर्स. The para numbers, the placement of comma and decimal is exactly the same what is there in IFRS and Ind AS. Exactly the same. Numbering भी same है, para numbering भी same है. Just that you need to know कि भाई ठीक है, अगर मेरे को IFRS का देखना है, IFRS 2 is Ind AS 102, IFRS 5 is Ind AS 105 for example. And if it is just IAS, International Accounting Standard, then it is Ind AS 16 is IAS 16. So that is why this numbering appears to be a little off. Are we clear with this? Yes? Okay. So first, why do you need Ind AS? Why do you need it? To match with the international reporting, so that when a foreign investor wants to invest, among a global investment, they will also consider Indian companies. And as a result, to make it more attractive to a foreign investor, we want to speak their language. So that is, I mean, to be honest, if you go to see, language plays such an important role. China is ahead everywhere except for services. इंडिया में अपन बोलते हैं ना, ये आप जो सुनते हो, BPOs वर देयर, कॉल सेंटर्स, और यू हैड, अभी आजकल उसको GCC बोलते हैं. यू हर्ड GCC? यू हैव नॉट हर्ड? ग्लोबल कैपेसिटी सेंटर्स. यू हैव दीज बिग ऑफिसेस. नाउ इंडिया में सबसे बिगेस्ट employers today are the GCCs. They are even bigger than IT companies. So I mean, they will set up. The reason is because Indian labor, unfortunately, आपके लिए is a little cheap. अभी Gen Z agree नहीं करता. आपको अच्छा compensation चाहिए, but historically it is still lower as compared to the Western world. And we speak a global language. China is a manufacturing capital, not the service capital. Why? Service में आपको language लगता है. अभी उनके पास लैंग्वेज है नहीं, दे विल स्पीक चाइनीज, बट द वर्ल्ड डज नॉट स्पीक मैंडरिन. एंड हेंस इफ यू सी कंट्रीज लाइक इंडिया एटसेट्रा स्टिल मच हायर. इंडिया में देखो आपने जीडीपी पढ़ा रहेगा, जीडीपी का ब्रेकअप, वी आर एग्रीकल्चर 14-15%, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग 20-30%, वी आर मोर देन 50% सर्विस. Service economy largely is because we can speak a language which is understood globally, and hence a lot of our companies like IT, Infosys, they can. Chinese companies find it very difficult to do that. They can do manufacturing. Product does not have to speak a language, but services के लिए आपको चाहिए, right? And as a result, having that language uniformity is so important globally. तो हमने बोला कि हमारे statements हम change कर देंगे. Let us say we will change those statements into the Ind AS statement. So that is the reason why Ind AS is there. But then why Ind AS? Why not IFRS? Ideally, we should have adopted IFRS. हमने बोला no, we will not adopt to IFRS. We will converge to IFRS. Converge means we will take IFRS, and if there are certain differences, we will have those list of differences. We are converging, we are not adopting. जो बोला वो मान नहीं लिया, जिधर मेरे को ठीक नहीं लगा, I made some tinkering here or there, that's about it. But by and large, I'm adopting IFRS as it is. Apart from what we call as carve-outs. अपन extra understanding के लिए we'll study those 10-12 carve-outs, but it is not there in your syllabus per se. So why Ind AS, it is because of international standards. Why not IFRS? Because of the differences it might have in our local context. And lastly, to whom is it applicable? We said it should be applicable ideally to the larger companies, because that is the companies who will largely attract the foreign capital as compared to the smaller companies. Are we clear with this? Okay, so to whom is your Ind AS applicable? We'll do that in detail as well, but before that, to whom is Ind AS applicable? First of all, we said it is applicable to the larger companies. अभी वो कौन से larger company है? For that they have given a road map. It's a bit historic, but they have given a road map. So the road map said in the year 1516, it's there in your shield, all of this, but just for reference, in the year 1516, Ind AS can be applied. Who will apply Ind AS? They said apply it voluntarily, which means if you want to apply Ind AS, you apply Ind AS, but we will not force you to apply Ind AS. Are we clear with this? You think this strategy will be very, very successful? No, आपको set A, set B, set C, set D पढ़ना है. अभी that ways if it is counted in your main exams, आप जो seriousness से पढ़ोगे, whereas अभी अपने have you given set A B C D? चालू किया अपने C और D लोग ऐसे ही दे दे रहे and A और B पहले लोग ऐसे देते थे. आजकल A और B has become a little difficult. Institute has seen that. So थोड़ा भी difficult होने लगा. So if you make it voluntary, people are not going to take it seriously, and this was a failure. Hardly anyone moved into Ind AS. तो हमने decide किया कि भाई कुछ करवाना है तो compulsory होना पड़ेगा, and hence there voluntary was a bit of a failure. So mandatory application started from 1617. They said from 1617 the Ind AS will start becoming mandatory to select companies. Which are those selected companies? Over here, according to, अगर आपके हिसाब से, what should be those companies? Bigger companies. How do you decide bigger companies? Turnover can be one of the base. Net profit can be another base. So there can be various bases. They decided net worth to be the base. There could have been net profit, there could have been turnover, but here they did not look at that. They said net worth हम मानेंगे. I don't know if you remember inter CMA, there were certain companies SMC या कुछ आप बोलते थे. उसमें net borrowing was looked at, turnover was looked at. यहाँ पे वो सब कुछ नहीं है, सिर्फ एक ही चीज, thankfully, which is net worth. So in the year 1617, if your net worth, and how do you calculate net worth? Any idea? Asset minus liability or share capital plus reserves. So if your which all will be there, we'll see, but loosely speaking, it is share capital plus reserves or asset minus liability. अपने net worth निकाला. If your net worth is greater than or equal to 500 crores as per the last audited balance sheet, then you are a big company and you should move on into the Ind AS framework. Are we clear with this? In the first phase of 1617, this net worth limit was applicable both to listed companies or to unlisted companies. You understand what is meant by listed company? What is a listed company? A company which is listed on the exchange, whether in India or outside India. It is a listed company, like for example, when you are looking at a company like, let us say Reliance, Tata, are all of these listed companies? Yes. So this is a listed company or companies which are in the process of listing. What do you mean by process of listing? Companies, very nice, who have filed a draft red herring prospectus. You look at as we speak, there are companies like Zepto, companies like Boat, they have all filed. In fact, if you are aware, I don't know whether you have read, Flipkart is originally what? It is Flipkart ka company kidhar based? Singapore company. It's actually, its parent company is based in Singapore since it was incorporated, WS Retail. It was based in Singapore. But if it wants to list, it wants to come in India. Abhi just 1 week back, they shifted their entire head office and their everything they've shifted to India because they're in the process of listing. They want to list, for that they have to become an Indian company. And as a result, they've shifted. So what I'm saying is, companies which are even in the process of listing, Zepto has filed, Boat has filed, lot of these have filed their DRHPs. So they are in the process of listing or they're unlisted. In the first phase, there's no differentiation. We say that if your net worth is greater than 500 crores, whether you are listed, unlisted, does not really matter. You will have to follow Ind AS. Are we clear with this? We'll study this in detail. अभी एक broad view ले लेते हैं. Then you go to the year 1780. According to you, the limits will increase. That is, you go from 500 to let's say 750 or 1000, or limits will decrease. You will increase the net, and hence you will have to reduce the limit. So in the next phase, you will filter down. You will say, okay, these are the companies who have adopted Ind AS in the first phase. Now in the second year, 1718, important word is onwards. 1718 onwards, all listed companies, all, which means I don't look at your net worth. The moment you are listed, you might be a tiny company who is listed, does not matter. The moment you are listed, you will have to follow Ind AS. Why? A lot of FII सुना है अपन? Foreign institutional investors, a lot of FIIs invest money directly in a listed company. Private company invest करना बहुत difficult है. I think आपके इंटर सी में FEMA था क्या? So FEMA has a lot of headaches when you have to go into a private company in India, but listed company is relatively easy. So a lot of big investors would go into the listed company universe. So we'll say all listed companies. No sir, my net worth is only 50 crores. Does not matter. My net worth is only 100. Does not matter. The moment you are listed, in fact there are companies who have negative net worth. Can there be negative net worth? आप कंपनीज देखो, स्विगी, जोमेटो, दे आर पेरेनियली लॉस मेकिंग कंपनी. आपने इंटरनल रिकंस्ट्रक्शन पढ़ा? इंटरनल रिको में आपने देखा शेयर कैपिटल एंड ह्यूज पीएनएल डेबिट बैलेंस. अभी ह्यूज पीएनएल डेबिट बैलेंस मींस इफ यू कैलकुलेट शेयर कैपिटल प्लस रिजर्व्स, योर लोन्स आर ग्रेटर देन एसेट्स पुट टुगेदर. In which case you have a still, if you are listed like Swiggy is listed, let it be negative net worth. Swiggy is listed, Ind AS will applicable. The moment you are listed, Ind AS application will happen. Are we clear with this? So over here, all listed companies, irrespective of their size, very very important, will go as per Ind AS. तो अगर आपके कोई भी client listed है, तो आपने certainly Ind AS देखा होगा. So all listed companies will have to follow Ind AS, except there's a small exception. Except companies which are listed on the SME platform. Now, unless given otherwise, ये आपको नहीं देखना है. SME, small and medium enterprises. BSE has a separate platform for SMEs. All the companies that you have heard about, जो listed है, they are not SMEs. If you are listed on the SME platform, then you may not apply Ind AS. That's fine. You are an SME. Who are listed on the SME platform, then you will not apply Ind AS. Are we clear with this? So all listed companies other than those listed on the SME platform will have to apply Ind AS. And for unlisted companies, achha, what do we say? Let me keep it to all unlisted companies? No. Unlisted companies, the net worth limit still remains. Net worth limit is now, anyone has any idea? 250 crores. So they've made it half from 500. The net worth limit is now 250 crores. So if your net worth as per the last audited balance sheet exceeds 250 crores, you are unlisted. Can there be unlisted companies? अच्छा, आपको क्या लग रहा है? Which are more? Are listed companies more or unlisted companies? Unlisted. There are hardly 10,000 listed companies and there are millions of unlisted companies. So that ways, if I'm an unlisted company like Parle, for example, Parle is so big, unlisted, but Parle has a net worth of greater than 250 crores. तो वहाँ पे प्राइवेट इक्विटी वगैरह आ सकता है. लाइक आई डोंट नो वेदर यू आर रीडिंग द न्यूज और नॉट. हल्दीराम सुना अपन? हल्दीराम में देयर इज अ डील विच इज हैपनिंग वेयर हल्दीराम में प्राइवेट इक्विटी, हल्दीराम इज अ प्राइवेट कंपनी, इट इज नॉट लिस्टेड. अपने को भुजिया याद आ गया उसका, आलू भुजिया. इफ यू आर ईटिंग दैट, मेरे को तो बहुत पसंद है, बट नेवरदलेस. सो व्हेन यू आर लुकिंग एट उसका सोन पापड़ी वगैरह, so that ways it is a private company, but that is where foreign capital can come in. तो हमने बोला नहीं 250 crores के ऊपर नेटवर्थ, and then we will probably look at Ind AS application. अच्छा, इसके बाद technically they can reduce the limits, but as we speak 10 years down the line, approximately 10 years down the line, there is no third phase anymore. So it is still onwards. Why? Because Ind AS requires a lot of domain expertise, और since a very long time all your जो अभी आपके फर्म में पार्टनर्स वगैरह है, they are all learned under AS. So there is not enough manpower today. आपका manpower अभी तैयार हो रहा है, but there is not enough manpower today which knows Ind AS. And if a small company wants to adopt Ind AS, most of the legacy CAs don't know Ind AS. Most of them. So किसको Ind AS आता है? Big Four को आता है. The big मिड साइज फर्म्स नो इंड एस, बट वो एक छोटा फर्म अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता, and hence they are waiting for another 5 to 6 years, after which they will reduce the net worth limit even more. It will still not be applicable to everyone, but the moment there is enough workforce which can apply Ind AS in a much more cost efficient manner, the institute is not prepared to dilute it. So abhi iske liye humne word use kiya 17-18 onwards, which means even if you are giving the exam in 2020, 28, 27, 29 जो भी है, if you are giving 2028, आपके जो भी questions आएगा ना, let us assume your exam is in 2028, so all your questions will be 31st March 28 questions. हर एक क्वेश्चन में लिखा रहेगा कंपनीज बैलेंस शीट ऑन 31st March 20. If you are giving 29 exams, 31st March 29, 27 exams, 31st March 27. So what you will look at is your last balance sheet. So you will say that if I am looking at the financial year 27-28 for example, if I am looking at the financial year 20 कि मेरे को ये साल में Ind AS अप्लाई करना है या नहीं करना है, let us say I'm checking for the years 27-28. I will check the net worth on which date? 31st March 31st March
27.
Very nice. 31st March 27 last audited balance sheet. If I look at 31st March 28, पूरा साल हो चुका, मैंने एंट्रीज मार दिए. Now you tell me go to Ind AS, how will it work? I will know net worth at the end of the year. So Ind AS agrees to that. It says no. I will not look at the current year. If I want to see current year में apply करना है तो last audited balance sheet देखो. अच्छा, my last balance sheet must be 31st March 27 balance sheet. अच्छा, in 31st March 27, if my net worth is more than 250 crores, let us say I was a small company. Slowly, let us say मेरा net worth बढ़ जाता है 31st March 27 तक 250 के ऊपर. In which case, I will move to Ind AS in the year 27-28. Are we clear with this? It may be, someone might say, sir, you were in existence in 2012. No, but my net worth was not more. My net worth crossed 250 crores on 31st March 27. Let's say it became 255 crores. Then from the year 27-28, I have to mandatorily apply Ind AS. I have no choice. Are we clear with this? So this is not just 17-18 का आपको चेक करना है. This is 17-18 onward. So whenever you are giving the exam, आपको usually आपके एक साल पहले का पेपर, यानी if you are giving in the year, if you are giving in May 28, you will have questions or September 28. Your questions will be 31st March 28 questions, for example. In which case you will check the net worth on that balance sheet and say will Ind AS apply to your relevant year or not. Are we clear with this? Last audited balance sheet, net worth as per the last audited balance sheet will be seen. Will this apply to listed companies? No, net worth मेरे को देखना ही नहीं है. It will apply to all listed companies who are reporting in India. अभी यहाँ पे स्टूडेंट बहुत ही टेक्निकल एप्लीकेशन करता है, सर लिस्टेड कंपनी तो सब हो सकता है. इज गूगल का पेरेंट अल्फाबेट करके उसका कंपनी है. लेट्स से गूगल और अल्फाबेट ऐसे केस में भी इज लिस्टेड. इट इज लिस्टेड इन यूएस. विल गूगल यूएसए हैव टू फॉलो इंड एस? व्हाई नो? इंडिया में रिपोर्टिंग ही नहीं करना. नो, outside India does not matter. It has to report in India. No, Google USA, Coca-Cola USA don't have to report in India. So how does it matter? मेरे को इंडियन रेगुलेटर को MCA सुना है, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कंपनी अफेयर्स. इफ आई हैव टू सबमिट टू माई ROC फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स, दैट इज व्हेन दिस प्रॉब्लम विल कम. A US company like Google, Coca-Cola does not have to submit such things to, so let it be listed over there, does not matter. तो हम ये क्यों डिस्कस कर रहे हैं? There's a company in India, if you are aware, Naukri.com, there is MakeMyTrip.com. All of these are Indian companies. They were the legacy Indian companies. They were formed during the .com bubble. आपके बर्थ के पहले 2000 में बने थे. And 2000 में people laughed at them literally because in India 2000 you did not even have a desktop or a laptop, let alone a smartphone. People said, who will take a job online? Who will book tickets online? Indian investors did not understand. And hence if you see Naukri.com, MakeMyTrip.com, they are still listed in the US, NASDAQ listed companies है. Because US में ये हो चुका था, .com bubble 2000 में होके burst हो चुका था. बट इंडिया में इतना इंटरनेट देखा नहीं, तो आपके अंबानी जी ने आपको जियो के फॉर्म में इतना इंटरनेट दिया. अदरवाइज इंडिया में इंटरनेट वॉज वेरी कॉस्टली. व्हेन आई मीन इवन आफ्टर वी क्वालिफाइड, हम लोग SMS लिखते थे तो 150 कैरेक्टर का लिमिट आता है. 150 कैरेक्टर के बाद अच्छा खासा कॉस्ट लगता है. इनफैक्ट अर्लियर इनकमिंग कॉल्स वर चार्ज. लिटरली अगर आपको कॉल आता है तो हम लोग लिटरली व्हाट यूज्ड टू गिव मिस कॉल्स. अगर किसी को हाई बोलना है तो लोग लिटरली मिस कॉल्स देते थे कि भाई ठीक है मिस कॉल है तो फिर चार्ज नहीं लगेगा, पहुंच गए तो मिस कॉल देते. दैट इज व्हाट वी यूज्ड टू डू. सो जियो मेड इट वेरी अफोर्डेबल. सो व्हेन वी लुक एट these companies, they're Indian companies. Info Edge Limited is an Indian company, but it is listed in the US, but it has to do Indian reporting. Now we will say, yaar, ye to फंस गए. Typically, I understand very cleanly that Reliance is an Indian company listed in India. बात खत्म. Google USA is a US company listed in the US. बात खत्म. I don't have to apply Ind AS to Google USA. How can I go and tell कि तूने Ind AS क्यों अप्लाई नहीं किया? I can't go and kidnap them like some countries are doing, right? So over here, I cannot do that. So उनको अप्लाई नहीं हो रहा है, उनको रिपोर्टिंग इन इंडिया में नहीं करना है. But that ways, if I look at Info Edge, it is an Indian company. But Indian investors in 2000 did not understand .com, so they had to list in the US to raise money because US investors को पता था. So they listed in the US, but still वो तो Indian company है. They have to report to the registrar of companies, etc. आप मेरे को बोलो, for Info Edge, let us say its net worth is more actually, but let's say its net worth is only 120 crores, but it is listed not in India, it is listed on the NASDAQ in the US, for example. Will it follow Ind AS? Yes. Companies which are listed in India or outside India does not matter. If they have to report in India, then Ind AS will apply. नहीं सर, तो गूगल को भी लगना चाहिए, बट गूगल डज नॉट हैव टू रिपोर्ट इन इंडिया ओनली. इट्स नॉट एन इंडियन कंपनी एट ऑल. इट डज नॉट हैव टू रिपोर्ट टू इंडिया, सो इट डज नॉट रियली मैटर. आर वी क्लियर? बट अच्छा, इट इज पॉसिबल. गूगल का इंडिया में एक सब्सिडियरी है, गूगल इंडिया प्राइवेट लिमिटेड, बट इट्स नॉट लिस्टेड. गूगल इंडिया प्राइवेट लिमिटेड को इंड एस फॉलो करना है? नो. बट व्हाट इफ गूगल इंडिया प्राइवेट लिमिटेड का नेटवर्थ इज मोर देन 250 करोड़? तो फॉलो करना है. वो पेरेंट उसका यूएस में क्या कर रहा है, डज नॉट मैटर, बिकॉज दे डोंट हैव टू रिपोर्ट इन इंडिया. अरे यस और नो. But Google India Private Limited, Coca-Cola India Private Limited, they are all Indian companies with a net worth of more than 250 crores, so they are following. Are we clear with this, everyone? Yes, we'll come to that. They can. So over here, we will understand listed. We understood listed in India or outside India. We understood process of listing, like DRHP, draft red herring prospectus being filed, and we understood unlisted. Are we clear with this? So now we proceed further into a few more smaller nitty-gritties. 5-10 minutes and we'll stop for a break and then continue. So when we look at let us say net worth, how do you define net worth? Share capital. Acha, what will be there in share capital? Will equity share capital be there? Yes. Will preference share capital be there? Yes. Will reserves be there? Yes. Acha, reserves में क्या आ सकता है? PNL, जनरल रिजर्व. विल ऑल ऑफ दीज, इसको फ्री रिजर्व्स बोलते हैं, विल दे बी देयर? बट व्हाट अबाउट सिक्योरिटीज प्रीमियम? इज दैट अ पार्ट ऑफ माय नेटवर्थ? यस. व्हाट अबाउट कैपिटल रिजर्व? इज दैट ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ माय नेटवर्थ? यस. आई विल टेक ऑल रिजर्व्स, नॉट जस्ट फ्री रिजर्व्स. आई विल टेक ऑल रिजर्व्स. अच्छा सर, व्हाई ऑल रिजर्व्स? बिकॉज माय कंपनी इज बिग. मे बी जैसे अभी लेंसकार्ट ने किया, आपने बहुत सारे मीम्स एंजॉय किए रहे. लेंसकार्ट केम अप विद एन IPO, दे इशूड एट अ वेरी हाई प्रीमियम. Now I might say security, but security premium went to Lenskart, and hence Lenskart के बैलेंस शीट में तो दिख रहा है ना यार वो. तो कंपनी का साइज बढ़ गया. Now let it be higher because of PNL, let it be higher because of security premium, let it be higher because of capital reserve. It does not matter. The only reserve which is not allowed is revaluation reserve. So all reserves other than revaluation reserve will be taken into consideration. Share capital, equity and preference both. All reserves except for revaluation reserve. Companies Act अगर आपने पढ़ा है तो Companies Act does not consider revaluation reserve. It says it can be reserve which can be manipulated. So remove revaluation reserve other than revaluation reserve, minus fictitious assets if any. Have you heard about fictitious assets? For example, preliminary expenses not written off, underwriting commission not. ये तो खर्चे है यार, but you have not written it off, so that is appearing in balance sheet. That is an expense. So that will give you your net worth. Are we clear with this? अभी interesting चीज देखते हैं. If you have done, if you have seen some financial statements, there are two type of statements. One is standalone, one is consolidated. अच्छा, दोनों में net worth will be same only? No, it will be different. So which net worth should I look at? Should I look at standalone or consolidated? Very nice. I will look at the standalone one because, I mean, why standalone? इंडिविजुअल कंपनी का एप्लीकेबिलिटी चेक होएगा. लाइक यू कैन हैव अ पैन नंबर. पैन नंबर समझते हैं? कंपनी का पैन हो सकता है. यू कैन नॉट हैव कंसोलिडेटेड पैन. If my group has 50 companies, there will be 50 different PANs and I will check assessment for each of them separately. अच्छा, कंपनीज में एक UCIN होता है, if you have heard, यूनिक कॉर्पोरेट आइडेंटिफिकेशन नंबर, a 16-digit नंबर, लाइक पैन होता है वैसे UCIN होता है. UCIN is for company wise, it is not consolidated. So if I want to check whether you have violated or not, how will I check? I will check from your UCIN. And उसके लिए तो आपका standalone financials देखा जाएगा, not your consolidated. Are we clear with this? So this limit will apply to standalone. It will not apply to consolidated. So 250 crores, if it is greater than 250 crores on a standalone basis, जी हाँ, then Ind AS will apply, otherwise it will not apply. So we are clear of what is standalone, we are clear of what is net worth. Achha. Now this is mandatory application. You want to apply Ind AS voluntarily. You are a small company, but आप बोले हम financial reporting पढ़ के आए, we know Ind AS, we want to apply Ind AS. Can you apply Ind AS voluntarily? Yes, you can. Voluntary application is allowed. However, आपने एक साल Ind AS के हिसाब से स्टेटमेंट बनाया, then इसे हमसे ना हो पाए. Now you want to go back to AS. It's a one-way street. The moment you make one financial statement as per Ind AS, after that you cannot go back to AS. Which means, let us say you voluntary जोश में आपने अप्लाई कर दिया. Now you say मेरे को नहीं अप्लाई करना. Is that allowed? No. You have to. You are stuck with Ind AS. You are a listed company. अच्छा, can you get delisted? Delisting possible है. You later get delisted. You are still supposed to follow Ind AS. So you are a company whose net worth was 300 crores. Is it possible that you may suffer losses? 100 crore का loss हो गया. Your net worth became 200 crores. Will you still have to follow Ind AS? The moment you prepare one financial statement as per Ind AS, there's no looking back. All subsequent financial statements will be prepared based on Ind AS only. You cannot then circle back to AS. Are we clear with this? So is voluntary application possible? Yes, but if you apply voluntarily or you apply mandatorily, if you prepare one financial statement as per Ind AS, there is no looking back. You are stuck with Ind AS for life. Are we clear with this? Yes, please. It does not matter. I will look at the AS limit only. So I don't have to see कि Ind AS के हिसाब से what should be the net worth. I will take based on AS limit only. Okay. So this is a general application. Now the last thing, okay. When you look at a group company, like for example, there is Tata Steel. Have you heard about Tata Steel? One of the oldest companies. Is Tata Steel listed? Yes, Tata Steel is listed. But Tata Steel has close to, if you open up their balance sheet, they have close to 600 subsidiaries. 600. Are these 600 companies listed? Most of them are not. Almost all of them are not. So Tata Steel will apply Ind AS. Why? Among other things, its net worth is more, but even if its net worth is anything, it is a listed company. So Tata Steel ko Ind AS lagega. But what about the subsidiaries of Tata Steel? 600 companies. Ind AS believes, और law में लिखा हुआ है, that if one of your companies in your group is covered under Ind AS, your entire group has to follow Ind AS. Now my Tata Steel subsidiary में से मैं तो छोटू सा कंपनी हूँ. I have not crossed the 250 crore threshold, does not matter. No, I am not listed, does not matter. Is one of your group companies an Ind AS company? Yes. Which means will you have to follow Ind AS? Unfortunately, yes. So when I look at Tata Steel, because Tata Steel is following Ind AS, all of its subsidiaries, whether they meet the limit or they don't meet the limit, will follow Ind AS. अच्छा, subsidiary के अलावा there can be joint venture also. Is that also a group company? Yes. There can be associate also. अच्छा, what is a subsidiary? More than 50%. What is a associate? More than 20% up to 50%. But what is a joint venture? It is not linked to stake. It is linked to an arrangement. Like if you have a jointly controlling arrangement, it becomes a joint venture. For example, you study that. But if like Tata Starbucks, 50-50, 50% with Tata, 50% with Starbucks, it's a joint venture. Both of them will jointly control that arrangement. So if one of those parties, let's say Tata को Ind AS लग गया, तो Tata Starbucks को automatically लग जाएगा. its joint venture, its associate company and its subsidiary company will all be covered by Ind AS. But if it has done just a passive investment समझते हैं, I just went and bought 20 shares of some company on the stock exchange, क्या इसको भी Ind AS लग जाएगा? So it has to be a significant investment, either associate, either joint venture or either subsidiary. इट इज लाइक जैसे कोविड में पता है क्वारंटाइन हो जाते थे अपने, एक जन को कोविड हो गया पूरा घर क्वारंटाइन हो गया. सो दैट वेज इफ इन योर ग्रुप वन कंपनी गेट्स अफेक्टेड बाय Ind AS, unfortunately your entire group gets covered by Ind AS, and that is where there is a lot of companies which go under Ind AS. because मेरे ग्रुप में एक कंपनी को Ind AS लग गया, my parent will have to follow Ind AS, my subsidiaries. So if for example I am Tata Steel, if I am Tata Steel, now I am listed, and because I am listed I am covered under Ind AS. So whoever is my parent, let us say इनके parent का नाम Tata Sons है actually. Tata Sons is not listed, but will Tata Sons still have to follow Ind AS? Yes, it's a group company of a Ind AS company. तो इसको भी unfortunately Ind AS लग जाएगा. अच्छा, it has various companies. Let's say अपन नाम देते S1 is for subsidiary, A1 is for associate, J1 is for joint venture. Will all of them also get stuck with Ind AS? अच्छा, is it possible कि हर एक का net worth was only 100 crores? All of them were unlisted. Will they still be covered by Ind AS? Yes. Group application will tell you that they will be covered under Ind AS. अच्छा, इसके नीचे और एक सब्सिडरी है, इसको सब सब्सिडरी बोलते हैं. S1 के नीचे S2, S2 के नीचे S3. Will they still be covered under Ind AS? Yes. Remember, your group covers the entire. It includes the sub subsidiaries also. It includes your parent and ultimate parent also. ये पूरा ग्रुप आपका Ind AS के अंदर कवर हो जाएगा. If one of your companies in your group gets covered by Ind AS, all other companies in that group will also be covered under Ind AS. Are we broadly clear with this? Yes. So over here, if we look at your first page, applicability of Ind AS, if we quickly revise whatever has been done, yes please. We'll do that. So there are a few special cases like banks, insurance companies, fellow subsidiaries. We'll come to that. वो next page पे ही अपना. But अभी के लिए अपने broad understanding ले लेते हैं. Applicability of Ind AS, phase wise applicability. For this a theory question can come. May 24 exam question where they said explain about the applicability of Ind AS phase wise. You just have to write this in your own words. You don't have to reproduce institute language. In your own words, 4-mark question, explain phase wise applicability. Theory question. Okay. It is applicable to all entities except for banks, insurance companies and NBFCs. So this what we are studying roadmap is applicable to all normal companies. जो अपन बोलते हैं ना X limited is normal company. But for banks वगैरह, I don't know, intern में अभी निकाल दिया है. Earlier it was there. For banks, RBI has separate regulations. For insurance companies, IRDA has separate regulations, and hence for them there's a separate. In fact, उनका balance sheet भी अलग बनता है. If you see their balance sheet, it is not same as the balance sheet that you see for a regular companies. तो इनका अलग ही phase wise application है. अभी के लिए we are all your sums in all your papers are going to come for other than banks, other than insurance, other than NBFCs. You are going to study for normal companies, but banks वगैरह क्या है will see on the other side of the break. अभी के लिए अपन normal company का देखते हैं, ये ज़्यादा important है. So it is applicable to all entities other than banks, insurance companies and NBFCs, where 2015-16 was a voluntary application. Are we clear with this? 16-17 was mandatory. Mandatory to whom? Listed entities or entities in the process of listing in or outside India with net worth of greater than or equal to 500 crores. Or unlisted entities with net worth of greater than or equal to 500 crores, which means in the first phase it did not matter whether you're listed or unlisted. Whether you're listed, unlisted, process of listing, if your net worth is more than 500 crores, Ind AS लग जाएगा. But to be honest, I don't see a exam question coming for 16-17. आपको तो exam question आएगा of the current phase only, जो आपके exam के लिए relevant है, which is the second phase. So for you, the more important phase is the 17-18 onwards phase. Mandatory applicability for, अच्छा, circle this word, all listed companies. You don't look at the net worth. All listed companies or entities in the process of listing, irrespective of net worth. Limits not applicable for companies listed on the SME platform. That is fine. SME के ऊपर sum नहीं आएगा. NBFC, there's a separate roadmap. So whatever is the regulation for NBFC, banks and insurance companies, it's separate. This is only for other than NBFC, other than banks, other than insurance companies. All listed entities or entities in the process of listing, net worth is not relevant. And for unlisted entities, net worth should be greater than or equal to 250 crores. Are we absolutely clear with this? Yes? Okay. What is net worth? Net worth includes share capital plus reserves. This is excluding the revaluation reserve minus fictitious assets. So this is your regular net worth calculation. Okay. Limits are applicable on standalone net worth and not consolidated based on the last audited balance sheet. Why standalone? Because if I have to start legal proceedings, I can't start legal proceedings against a consolidated. There's nothing called as, it is just a total of, उसमें से एक entity बोलेगा मेरा तो problem ही नहीं है, कोई बोले, how will you catch one of them? You can catch one of them through their PAN number, through their UCIN number, which are given standalone basis, and hence limits are always applicable standalone. Are we clear with this? अच्छा, आपको सी इंटर में CSR वगैरह था? CSR में भी there were certain limits applicable on standalone. Everything is standalone limit application. अच्छा, third, Ind AS can be either applied voluntarily or mandatorily. That is fine. But if an entity prepares financial statements as per Ind AS in one of the years, it is required to prepare future statements as per Ind AS only. One-way street. The moment you enter into Ind AS, there is no looking back. You have to prepare all your future statements as per Ind AS only. Acha, this is important. If Ind AS becomes applicable to one of the entities in the group, it would become applicable to all other entities of the group like subsidiaries, associates, joint ventures, parent companies, everyone. Acha, there can be certain companies, I don't know, I forgot the section. Section 8, sure. Charitable. Can your company also have a charitable company? So apparently Reliance के अंदर there is Nita Ambani Foundation. So Nita Ambani Foundation tries to do a lot of charitable things, but it is still under the hold of Reliance. Section 8 company है वो, but company तो है at the end of the day. Will that company also covered under Ind AS? The law nowhere gives an exception के Section 8 है तो Ind AS नहीं लगाना चाहिए. Even if it is Section 8, if its net worth is greater than 250, or if it is under a group which is having Ind AS, Section 8 company को भी लगे, all companies, including Section 8 companies, will be covered by Ind AS. Your business, non-business, charitable does not matter. आपको Ind AS लग जाएगा. Yes, okay. So includes all companies in the group. अच्छा, companies which are not covered under the above roadmap. अच्छा, वो क्या करेंगे? AS. Remember, for companies, AS और Ind AS is mandatory. आपका फाइनल CA पूरा कंपनी अकाउंटिंग ही है. अभी तो इंटर CA also is largely company accounting, but can there also be partnership firms? अच्छा, can partnership firms have a net worth of more than 250 crore? Like your CA firms, for example, the big four, for example, they can have a net worth of more than 250 crores. Will they be covered under Ind AS? Will they be covered under AS? Not even necessary. They are covered by the Partnership Act. Partnership Act nowhere tells you कि AS या Ind AS करना. This is just a legal thing that you should be aware of. अपने को ये पढ़ाई में आएगा नहीं. But remember, ये सब हम फंस रहे क्यों है? Because Companies Act, if you have studied in Inter CA, it tells you that companies have to follow accounting standards. Companies have to be audited. Do partnership firms have to be audited? Not compulsory. Partnership firm कितना भी बड़ा हो तो Partnership Act of 1932 nowhere tells you कि partnership firm को audit करना है. Partnership Act does not tell you that you have to follow accounting standards or Ind AS. Companies Act ये झमेला क्रिएट करते. If I am not a company, ये सब झमेला है. If I want to voluntarily follow, मैं कुछ भी कर सकता हूँ. मैं तो US GAAP भी कर सकता हूँ. No one is going to stop me because the law nowhere tells you कि कौन सा accounting framework use करना है. Companies Act tells you. If you remember, I don't, आपको शायद 133 section या कुछ था, 133 or something, which tells you कि companies have to account as per the specified accounting standards. अभी specified कौन सा? ये specified, either AS या फिर Ind AS. Partnership Act में ऐसा section ही नहीं. तो Partnership Act, if you want to follow, you follow. You don't want to follow, ये limits partnership को, this is limits given by MCA, Ministry of Company Affairs, not partnership individual or HUF. नहीं, उनको करना है तो वो कर सकते, बट हमारे को लेना देना है नहीं, बिकॉज अवर स्टूडेंट्स वी आर डूइंग कंपनी अकाउंटिंग ओनली. बट क्वेश्चन इंटरव्यू में पूछ लिया A partnership firm might have more than 250 crores. They don't even have to follow AS. If they want to follow, they can follow voluntarily. They don't have to mandatorily follow. Neither AS nor Ind AS. उनको करना है, audit करवाना है तो बात अलग है. But other than that, applicability is not mandatory. Are we clear with this? Yes. Okay. So this is companies not covered in the above roadmap will be covered under AS. But if it's a non-corporate entity, then तो आपके ऊपर है. Then none of these technically apply. Okay. The above roadmap is not applicable for banks, insurance companies and NBFCs. Why? Because a separate roadmap is given for the same. Okay. Ind AS is applicable irrespective of the entity being a charitable organization. So this will be applicable even if you are a Section 8 company. Achha, this point you will circle up, you will not understand it right now, you will do it later. Joint operation of an Ind AS need not comply with Ind AS. You don't know what a joint operation is. Joint venture आपको शायद पता है, joint operation. Hello. Joint operation is something different. We will study it later when you do Ind AS 111. So अभी के लिए keep that aside. Joint operation may not be covered under Ind AS. Just for your understanding, what do you mean by joint operation? Loosely speaking, can company be a partner in a partnership firm? Company, can it be a partner in a partnership firm? Yes. But if company is a partner in a partnership firm, 50-50 partner, company को Ind AS लगा तो technically partnership firm को भी लग जाएगा. Because it becomes my group, but it's not a group company. It's a joint operation. It's a non-corporate entity. तो वो joint operation क्या है, joint venture क्या है, दो अलग चीज है. But उसका detailed split आता है when you do 111. So we're not going into that right now. Just remember कि भाई ऐसा कुछ है, वो circle करके रखा है. We'll do that later. Are we clear with the application for the time being? Special cases on the other side of the break. But broad application, to whom does Ind AS apply? Is that absolutely clear? Any problems? Yes. Okay. If they ask questions, should the whole or 17-18 onwards be enough? Well, they will ask questions. They will give you the date, and based on the date, you have to decide कौन सा है. But then, sir, why are we studying all of this? Because theory question आ सकता है. जैसे May 24 एग्जाम में आया था. Explain the roadmap for application. तो उसमें आपको you have to write the entire roadmap. Roadmap is not just the latest map. It is the entire roadmap. And hence we are studying कि भाई 16-17 में भी क्या था, 15-16 में भी क्या था. But if a numerical question comes, I am reasonably certain that you will not be asked for 16-17 or 15-16. You will be asked for your year only. So for a numerical question, this is the only part which is relevant, 17-18. But for a theory question, the entire roadmap may have to be written. And hence आपको ये दोनों पता तो होना चाहिए. ठीक है? Perfect. So we'll stop for a break now. And yes, partnership, if it is following Ind AS, it can very well go back to AS because this regulation itself does not apply to a partnership firm. All of this is a Ministry of Company Affairs thing. ठीक है? So we'll be back in around 10 odd minutes. Yes, and we'll continue this further. Chalo, settle down please. You guys follow the stock market. You guys see stock market. Today should be a very interesting opening if you want to see. Usually post wars market fall. Usually. Today would be probably slightly different. Should be very interesting to see how they kind of react actually. Most of the oil companies they are expecting will go up significantly. So all your Reliance, ONGC, Oil India will go up significantly. But because oil, I don't know, they are saying will become cheaper. But let's see how markets react overall. Should be interesting. Chalo. So settle down please. So this is regarding applicability. We'll go to the questions. But before that, we'll just cover up a couple of special cases as well regarding other special entities like, for example, banks, insurance companies and NBFCs. Now, what is the difference between a bank and an NBFC? Which deposits? No, it can accept deposits. It can't accept demand deposits. It can't have a saving or a current account. like a check that you have or the fund transfer, that is saving and current account. Fixed deposits NBFC can also accept, but they cannot accept savings or current, that is demand deposit. Whenever a customer wants, NBFC cannot do that, bank can. And what is more important from a country's perspective, bank is more important or NBFC is more important? And that is why banks are very, very tightly regulated by the RBI. In fact, if you see, Reliance is there everywhere, Tata is there everywhere, but they are not there in banks. RBI will never allow corporate control over a bank. All of these banks, if you see, are kind of independent entities. They are not linked to Godrej, Reliance, Tata, Birla, etc. because RBI will never allow. They might have their NBFCs, but public hard-earned money, they will not be with a lot of regulations. What I'm trying to say is RBI is very, very kind of conservative when it comes to banks. So RBI says, till the time I'm absolutely sure of how the accounting is flowing, I will not allow Ind AS to be applicable. As we speak, Ind AS application has been deferred up to further notice for banks. Sooner or later it will come. But right now, banks को Ind AS नहीं लगता है. नहीं लगता है means even if a bank wants to voluntarily adopt Ind AS, it cannot adopt Ind AS. Application of Ind AS is prohibited for banks by the RBI till the time further notice. Are we clear with this? So banks, as we speak, are following what they call as IGAP. IGAP is Indian Generally Accepted Accounting Practices. Indian practices are accounting standards. So if you are auditing a bank, even if it is a listed bank, like is HDFC Bank listed? Axis Bank, ICICI, they are listed banks. Even if I am a listed bank, my net worth is more than 250, 500 crore as a guess maybe, will a bank follow Ind AS? No. Why? Because it is deferred until further notice by RBI. Is everyone clear with this? So banks, even till the time you write your exams, I am reasonably certain banks के ऊपर Ind AS नहीं आएगा. It will take a lot of time before banks will go under Ind AS. Now there is insurance companies. Again, insurance companies are important institutions, and there is IRDA, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. They have deferred the application of insurance companies, but we believe that insurance companies को in the near future, maybe 27, 28 के आसपास application आ जाना चाहिए to insurance companies, largely because there is a dedicated standard, Ind AS 117, which is coming dedicated for insurance only. Banks के लिए कोई dedicated standard है नहीं. So once that dedicated standard comes in, the regulator understands it, then it is fine because it is not a general framework. It's a specific framework to insurance companies. So in the foreseeable future, insurance companies will move to Ind AS earlier as compared to banks, is what we believe. In the next few years, it is possible that by the time you write your exams, insurance companies के ऊपर Ind AS आ जाए. However, for you as a student, I believe it will have a very limited impact. I don't think वो जो Ind AS 117 है बहुत ही ज़्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स, बहुत ही ज़्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स. I personally know, for example, one of the CFOs of one of these insurance companies, उन लोग भी अपना सर कूट रहे हैं. बोल रहे समझ, बिग फोर भी सर कूट रहे हैं. तो लगे समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा, वो इतना कॉम्प्लेक्स है, तो सीए का बच्चा क्या करेगा? पहले तो इनको समझ में आना चाहिए. सो इट इज़ वेरी वेरी अनलाइकली. इनफैक्ट देयर आर अदर स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑल्सो, like there's a Ind AS 106 on exploration and evaluation and mining. They don't apply it because it is very technical. So you don't, so they might give you an introduction, but the deep application of 117 is unlikely. If it comes, जो भी आता है, we will discuss it. You will get a proper notification from the institute at least a year before your exams. So you will know whether it is applicable or not. But as of now, they have not released any material or said any application of 117. But 117 आने से ही आपको अप्लाई नहीं होगा, वो पहले इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को अप्लाई होना चाहिए. Then it makes sense teaching you. So over here, as of now, we are not getting covered. Insurance companies or banks, we can say this is deferred until further notice by the IRDA or deferred until further notice by RBI. Are we clear with this? Okay, now comes NBFCs. So RBI ne NBFCs, they said that we will take a chance. So because NBFC is not playing with saving and current accounts, so your salary or your stipend, whatever it is, will not ever get credited into an NBFC account. Bank also, people's hard-earned money is kept in banks. So I don't want banks to be very volatile on transition. So I say कि भाई Ind AS में नहीं apply करूँगा. However, for NBFCs, I'm okay taking a chance, and hence NBFC पे Ind AS लगा. And NBFC roadmap was a +2 roadmap. Just remember that. Whatever you studied over here, if you can do +2, that is 16-17 में जो हो रहा है, that is net worth of greater than 500 crores for listed or unlisted entities will be applicable for NBFCs when 18-19. For all listed entities, that is all listed NBFCs and NBFCs having a net worth of more than 250 crores, applicability will be 19-20. In NBFC, voluntary application is prohibited. If you are a smaller NBFC, you cannot go out and say, no, I want to adopt Ind AS. No, you cannot. RBS clearly said, ये limits है तो ये limits है. यही apply करेगा. Other than that, no one can apply. Voluntary application is possible for regular companies. Voluntary application is not possible for NBFCs. Voluntary application is not possible for banks or insurance companies. Are we clear with this? So when I look at, for example, NBFCs, you can write down over here next to it a +2 year applicability, which means what happened in 16-17 will happen here in 18-19, listed or unlisted, having a greater than 500 crore net worth. What happened in the year 17-18 will happen in the year 19-20 over here, all listed and unlisted greater than 250 crores, and we have mentioned that voluntary application is prohibited. Are we clear with this? Now, just for reference, yes please. IGAP is AS. IGAP AS is one and the same. So when people say IGAP, that is Indian generally accepted practices, that is India mein generally AS chalta hai. So the word IGAP, if you hear your partner saying, it means accounting standards. Ind AS means Ind AS. Are we clear with this? So NBFC which is smaller than 250 crores or NBFC which is unlisted is going to follow AS. The listed NBFC जैसे Bajaj Finance, Cholamandalam Finance, Sundaram Finance, Mahindra Finance, all listed NBFCs, they will follow Ind AS. NBFCs which are unlisted but having a more than 250 crore net worth, they will also follow Ind AS. Remember, ये roadmap is independent of the roadmap given over here. There are two separate roadmaps. For NBFC separate, NBFC will never look at this, and a regular company will never look at this. They will have two separate roadmaps. Same is the case with banks, etc. Is everyone clear? Yes, please. Very good question. So now that group headache comes, right? Like, I mean, if we want to go into a lot of depth, maybe in the exam it may not be as relevant, but let us say you have a group concept here. Like for example, you have Future Group. Future Group is run by Mr. Kishore Biani. Now Future Group has one of its subsidiaries called as Future Generali. Have you heard about this? Future Generali is an insurance company. Now one of its subsidiaries of or Bajaj Group है. Bajaj तो motorbikes वगैरह बनाता है. But Bajaj has Bajaj Allianz, which is an insurance company. Bharti Group has Airtel, but Bharti has Bharti AXA. This is an insurance company, for example. So when I'm looking at such companies, and when you look at the group concept, this is just for understanding. Now Future Group is a listed entity, or again वो listed नहीं भी है. Their net worth is greater than 250 crores. Are we clear with this? Which means technically will Ind AS be applicable over here? Yes. Now Future Generali might have a fairly big net worth. It might have net worth of greater than 250 crores. Will Ind AS become applicable? Why no? Insurance company. It may be listed. It is not actually listed, but it may be listed. If it is listed, will Ind AS still be applicable? No. But it is a subsidiary of, let us say, or a group company of an Ind AS entity. And this is not just applicable for future, it can be made, many companies have this problem. It is a subsidiary of an Ind AS entity. और हमने study किया था that as per a group, if one company is covered under Ind AS, all its group companies will cover under Ind AS. But that is under independent roadmaps. When I look at an independent roadmap, I said that the roadmap for a regular company is separate for the roadmap of NBFC, is separate from the roadmap of an insurance company, and separate from a roadmap of a bank. Which means merely because my parent is listed, I don't have to follow Ind AS, because under my roadmap तो ऐसा था ही नहीं. मेरा roadmap तो बोल रहा है कि ऐसा नहीं कि, and the roadmap for a regular company will say all of my subsidiaries which are covered under this roadmap. The insurance company, NBFC and banks are not covered by this roadmap. And as a result, even if I'm a subsidiary of future group, will I still be covered under Ind AS? No. So long story short, my accounting will still be as per AS. ये उल्टा भी हो सकता है. For example, parent company being future generally and subsidiary company being future group hypothetically. जैसे let us say HDFC Bank is at the top and it has a subsidiary which is a non-banking company. That is also possible. वहाँ पे भी same चलेगा. My subsidiary might be having 250 करोड़ से ज़्यादा net worth. But that does not mean I have to follow Ind AS because मेरा roadmap अलग है. I'm still a bank. If I'm a bank, I'm not going to follow Ind AS as per my independent roadmap. Am I clear with this? अच्छा, इसका भी practical problem क्या होता है? In the SFS समझते? Separate standalone financial statements, they will follow Ind AS. When I look at SFS over here, future generally will follow AS. But is it compulsory for the future group to prepare a CFS? Consolidated financial statements. अभी consolidation आपने बहुत टाइम पहले पढ़ा था. But consolidation का एक principle होता है, if you remember. Consolidation has to happen as per uniform accounting policies. In your inter CA, there were a couple of sums as well, where parent का policy अलग, subsidiary का policy अलग. आप you used to restate the policy of the subsidiary to bring it in line with the parent. कुछ याद आ रहा है? It is compulsory. When you do consolidation, consolidation cannot be done on different accounting policies. Etc. Does AS and Ind AS have different accounting policies? Yes, there are different rules. They will definitely have different accounting policies. So अभी आप फंसोगे at the stage of consolidation. Because if you want to consolidate future group, where I have to include future generally as well, for me consolidation has to happen as per uniform accounting policies. And as a result, at the stage of consolidation, what will I do? I will restate future generally to the extent possible. For the stage of consolidation, I will restate future generally to Ind AS to the extent practical. Consolidation का standard आपको बोलता है you will consolidate as per uniform accounting policies to the extent practicable. So to the extent possible, I will restate. याद रखो जो future generally का annual report बनेगा उसके अंदर SFS में sign जो बनेगा that will be as per AS only. But when I have to consolidate it, I have to consolidate as per uniform accounting policies, and hence on an Excel, I will try to make adjustments to restate the future generally financials into Ind AS, and then consolidate the restated financials of future generally into the future group as per Ind AS like to like. Are we clear with this? काफी स्टूडेंट बोलते हैं ये तो फिर this is, to be honest, not just possible or not just required for future generally or Indian companies following AS or Ind AS. आप सोचो US में there is Google India Private Limited. Google India Private Limited will prepare its accounts as per Ind AS. चलो AS Ind AS जो भी है, but it has to consolidate. Google USA has to consolidate all its subsidiaries. Will it consolidate all its subsidiaries as per AS, as per Pakistani GAAP, as per Nepali GAAP? No. They will have to restate as per US GAAP, and hence all these companies will do dual accounting. First, for Indian regulator, they have to publish accounts as per AS only, because जो audit report sign होएगा वो AS या Ind AS जो भी है उस पे ही होएगा. But if I consolidate with the US parent, I can't consolidate Indian statements. So I will, India में बकायदा काफी सारे firms है जो ये काम करते हैं US GAAP restatement का. So they will have to restate all their financials in an Excel sheet as per US GAAP, and those restated financials will then be consolidated. कुछ समझ में आ रहा है अपने को? तो सेम लॉजिक यहाँ पे भी लगेगा भाई. वो दो कंट्री में जो लगता है फॉर टू डिफरेंट अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स, यू विल अप्लाई इन अ सिंगल कंट्री ऑल्सो. बट दैट डज नॉट मीन कि भाई गूगल इंडिया हैज टू कंसोलिडेट एज पर यूएस गैप, तो चलो दे प्रिपेयर अकाउंट्स ऑल्सो. नो, दे विल प्रिपेयर अकाउंट्स एज पर इंड एस इफ दे क्रॉस द लिमिट, और एस इफ दे डोंट क्रॉस द लिमिट इन इंडिया. बट टू कंसोलिडेट आई कांट से कि हाँ ठीक है आई विल टेक दोस. नो, यूएस कंसोलिडेट स्टेटमेंट्स हैज टू बी एज पर यूएस गैप ओनली. सो दे विल हैव टू रीस्टेट एंड देन कंसोलिडेट. सेम लॉजिक यहाँ पे भी लगेगा. Are we clear with this? अच्छा, उल्टा situation possible है. There's an HDFC bank which is at the top. अच्छा, HDFC bank listed, unlisted, net worth. Tell me, what will it follow? Yes, because it is a bank. अच्छा, HDFC has, for example, X Private Limited, a subsidiary. It can have, HDFC has many subsidiaries. One of them may be a non-banking company also. In which case, X Private Limited कोई तो purpose के लिए उन्होंने incorporate किया हुआ है, and this has a net worth of 300 crores. Will it have to follow Ind AS? Yes, it is not a bank, not an insurance company. It is covered by the general roadmap, and hence it will follow Ind AS. which means this will happen in their SFS. In the SFS of X Private Limited, I'll follow Ind AS. In the SFS of HDFC Bank, I'll follow AS. But when I consolidate, I'll have to consolidate as per whose policies? Parents' policies or subsidiaries? Parents' policies. And as a result, when I consolidate, I will take parents' policies. अच्छा, future के example में future group was a Ind AS company. So I restated the subsidiaries financials into Ind AS. यहाँ पे HDFC Bank is an AS entity, which means I'll have to restate the subsidiaries Ind AS financials into AS and then consolidate. Consolidation happens as per uniform accounting policy. At a student level ये नहीं आएगा. Such complex things of transitioning from one standard to another, it's a much more complex practical evaluation. They will not, because इसके लिए आपको दोनों standards बहुत अच्छे से पता होने चाहिए, तभी आप कर सकते हो. एक चीज में नहीं चलेगा. Like I need to know Ind AS very well, I need to know AS also very well. तो they will not. यहाँ पे आपको सिर्फ Ind AS ही पढ़ाया जाता है, AS का बात ही नहीं होता, and hence it will not come. But as a question, it's a fair question that what will happen in case of a group. Group में independent application होता है merely because my. अच्छा, think of it this way. If this was 150 crores, तो क्या होता? Still AS. Will I say my parent is listed? No, it does not matter. It is separate application. Road map law ही अलग है दोनों का. मेरा parent अगर non bank होता, then I would have seen my parent. If my parent is a bank, insurance company, NBFC, I don't see that. I will look at their application to be independent. I will look at my application to be independent. It will not it will not be based on my parents' application. Are we clear with this, everyone? Okay. So over here, this is regarding a group concept. Is everyone clear? यहाँ पे complexity आ सकता है. Like उल्टा सीधा, they can make a complex question out of it for group application. So over here, this is regarding, and just for your knowledge, if you want, you can note down over here mutual funds. तो इसके ऊपर कोई सम आएगा नहीं, but mutual funds are governed by whom? SEBI. Securities Exchange Board of India. They covered mutual funds, and they have said mutual funds will apply Ind AS from 1st April 25 onwards. So mutual fund के ऊपर अभी Ind AS लग गया. So but mutual fund accounting is not there in your syllabus, so it does not really matter. But just for your knowledge, all mutual funds from 1st of April 2025 onwards will comply with Ind AS. Are we clear with this? But not really important from an exam perspective. So these are special entities. Okay. Now there was another question that was asked during the class about something called as a fellow subsidiary. Now what do you mean by fellow subsidiary? Let us say there is Tata Sons at the top, and then there is a company TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, and there is another company. For example, अभी आजकल ये टाटा न्यू चल रहा है, अभी वो काफ़ी चीज़ स्पॉन्सर कर रहा है, IPL वगैरह. So let's say Tata New. Let's say it's a small company. It's actually quite big these days, but let's say it's a small company. Now stakes अलग है, but just for knowledge, let's say I have 100% stake over here. I also have 100% stake over here. Okay, Tata Sons is at a standalone level, SFS. It has a net worth of, for example, 150 crores. Will Ind AS be applicable? अच्छा, अभी अपन बैंक इंश्योरेंस कंपनी के बाहर है. Don't think about all of that. We are out of this. Regular companies. Will Ind AS be applicable? अच्छा, TCS I don't know the net worth, but let's say it is listed. Will Ind AS be applicable? Yes, there is an Ind AS application. अच्छा, if TCS is covered under Ind AS, will Tata Sons get covered under Ind AS? Yes. Why? Group application. If one of my company in my group is covered, all other companies will be covered. So that ways Ind AS is applicable. अभी आप मेरे को बताओ, is Tata Sons application derived application or is it its own standalone application? Derived. It is because one of my subsidiaries is listed कि भाई मेरे ऊपर जबरदस्त से Ind AS लग गया. It is not due to my own independent net worth limit, but still Ind AS तो लगेगा. अभी ये चक्कर में टाटा न्यू, which has a net worth of only 50 crores, will Ind AS actually be applicable? No. But does my parent get covered under Ind AS? And hence ideally will Ind AS become applicable? Yes. यहाँ पे institute gives you an exception. That is where they say fellow subsidiaries. It's a fellow subsidiary. Fellow subsidiary will not be required to follow Ind AS if parent's application is a derived application. अगर पेरेंट का खुद का एप्लीकेशन वॉज इंडिपेंडेंट देन फेलो सब्सिडरी हो या ना हो फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता, ऑल सब्सिडरीज विल अप्लाई. सो देयर इज एन एक्सेप्शन हियर. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, ओके होल्ड ऑन, ये बराबर से समझ लो. टीसीएस के नीचे देयर इज अनदर कंपनी टाटा सॉफ्टवेयर फॉर एग्जांपल. विल टाटा सॉफ्टवेयर बी कवर्ड अंडर इंड एस? अच्छा, irrespective of its net worth? Yes, this is because this is not a fellow subsidiary, it is a sub subsidiary. It will definitely, अच्छा ये joint venture हुआ, associate हुआ, everything will be covered. So what is covered in the exceptions? Fellow subsidiaries like Tata Steel and Tata TCS, Tata Motors, all of these are having a common parent. I will not force upon Ind AS merely because my brother, my fellow subsidiary is covered under Ind AS. नहीं सर, बट उसमें ये होगा ना, if TCS is covered, naturally my parent is covered, and if my parent is covered, I am covered. हाँ, तो that is why I am giving you an exception. So Ind AS gives you an exception कि भाई if parent application is derived application, then it is not mandatory to follow Ind AS over here. Are we clear with this? If I change the situation a little, let's say net worth यहाँ पे 1500 के बदले I make 150 के बदले I make it 1500. Will parents still have to follow Ind AS?
Yes.
Now will Tata New have to follow Ind AS? Yes, because Tata parent is not following Ind AS based because one of its subsidiaries. Tata New has to follow Ind AS because my parent is following Ind AS under its own applicability, not under derived applicability. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? So when I look at the fellow subsidiary rule, fellow subsidiaries are exempted. नहीं, but fellow subsidiary में it will always happen कि if one of the fellow subsidiaries covered by Ind AS, the parent will automatically go under Ind AS. But that is derived application, not its own standalone application, and that is where the exception is. Are we clear with this? Yes. Okay. So when we look at this, we say point number 2 of these special cases, additional guidance के बारे में. Ind AS need not mandatorily apply to fellow subsidiary, fellow joint venture or fellow associate. Now the same logic applies to every fellow group company. However, parent, अच्छा hold on, practically क्या होएगा? Parent has to follow Ind AS. Tata New will follow AS. So for consolidation, I will have to restate Tata New's financials into Ind AS compulsorily because मेरे पास तो choice है ही नहीं as a parent company. So practically what most companies do is they voluntarily adopt Ind AS only. They say Tata New को, but as a student you cannot write that. Practically you will see most of these parents will say छोड़ना यार, why do I want to restate it again? I will voluntary application. देखो वो if it is a bank, insurance company or NBFC cannot voluntarily follow. A regular company can voluntarily follow. So I will say छोड़ना दो बार क्यों बनाना है यार? I will might as well make my accounts voluntarily in Ind AS. So I don't need to restate. But if I don't want to voluntarily make, legally you can make it as per AS. And then you'll have to restate because Tata Sons has to prepare financials as per Ind AS only. Are we clear? So that is what we have written. We have said the parent may need to restate the financial statements of that company for consolidation. So Tata New statements have to be restated. Practically most parents will decide कि मैं इसको voluntary बोलूँगा Ind AS ले ले, which means I don't have that restatement का झमेला. Make as per Ind AS and then I directly consolidate. Are we clear with this? But as a student you cannot answer that. As a student you have to answer based on the legal position, and legal position Tata New is not mandatorily required to follow Ind AS. Are we clear with this? Everyone, any problems here? No. Okay. And the next one, in case there are banks, insurance companies or NBFCs in a group, they may continue under their accounting standards. Separate application. However, for consolidation, the financial statements may need to be restated to Ind AS to the extent practical. Like those two examples we studied, one for the parent being Future Group and one for parent being HDFC. Any problems here? Okay, so that is about it. Now this last thing, point 1, I would say is not important, though institute के study material में there are around 2-3 questions pertaining to this. तो अपन ये सीख के रखते हैं because study material पे the probability of these questions coming in exam from this section is next to nil. This is regarding the first time application. First time application, like आपने तो शायद ये फेस नहीं किया, but a lot of people who, आपको ध्यान है 2024 में a new course came in under which you are registered. There were certain cut-off dates कि ये cut-off date के पहले तो you are old course, ये cut-off date के बाद you are new course. There will be certain cut-off dates. Similar thing happened in the year 31st March 2014. 14 आज से 12-14 साल पहले का बात है, बट इसके ऊपर 2-3 क्वेश्चंस है. सो इंस्टीट्यूट व्हेन इट केम दे पुट द कट ऑफ डेट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. If I go to see, the cutoff date was 31st March 2014 net worth, which means if my 31st March 14 net worth was, let us say, 300 crores, tell me, will Ind AS become applicable? No. First phase का application 500 crore के ऊपर होता है. So I have to look at 500 right now. The first phase application is a 500 crore net worth. So Ind AS is not applicable. However, if my net worth on 31st March 14 was 600 crores, would Ind AS become applicable? Would it become applicable? When does it become applicable? Directly in the year 1617. आपको practically 2 full years दिए गए, because as of now you and I are studying Ind AS. तभी Ind AS नया आया था, किसी को हवा नहीं था. Quite literally when we were teaching then, students would come to us and say, हमारे partners आपके notes मांग रहे हैं. Because they don't know anything about Ind AS, they have to learn from somewhere, right? So they gave 2 years of runway. They said कि भाई ऐसा नहीं कि last audited balance sheet और चल कल सुबह को उठ के Ind AS चालू कर दे. No. Cut off date they kept as 31st March 14. And if on 31st March 14 your net worth was greater than 500 crores, then you know that you had to mandatorily move to Ind AS in the year 1670. फिर आपको 31st March 15 एक्चुअली तो लास्ट ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट था ना, बट पहली बार जब भी लग रहा है तभी तो किसी को नहीं आता Ind AS. मेरे को टाइम चाहिए. दे गिव यू 2 years टाइम. दे से ऑन 31st March 14 यू आर अ बिग कंपनी, देन यू डोंट सी लास्ट ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट. फॉरगेट 31st March 15, फॉरगेट 31st March 16. I am telling you on 31st March 14 if you cross 500 crores you have to mandatorily move to Ind AS in the year 1670. You don't have a choice. नहीं सर, बट मेरा बिजनेस बाद में खराब हुआ on 31st March 15. For example, my net worth went down to 550 crores. On 31st March 16, my net worth went down to 450 crores, which is lower. Technically 16-17 के लिए lower है, does not matter. First time application was based on the net worth which existed on 31st March 14. If it was higher, उसके बाद भले आपका कम होने दो, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Ind AS would become applicable. Are we clear? Or let us say my net worth was lower. Does that mean Ind AS will never become applicable? Then I keep on checking last audited balance sheet. देखो यहाँ पे अगर मेरा 31st March 14 को my net worth was 600, उसके बाद ये फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता मेरा net worth क्या होना है. Because as per law on 31st March 14 you have crossed the limit, which means mandatorily you will move to in 16-17. Sir, last word does not matter. Last audited balance sheet does not matter because you have on the cutoff date you are higher than the limit, which means तुम्हारे को Ind AS लगना ही है. नहीं, but in cutoff date you are lower in the limit. Does that mean Ind AS is never applicable? No. Then the general provision applies. General provision is last audited balance sheet, which means अगर आपका net worth was, for example, क्या लेना है, let's say 200 crores, Ind AS is not applicable. फिर आपका net worth यहाँ पे बढ़ा, let's say it became 450 crores, and यहाँ पे it increased further, it became 550 crores. Now on 31st March 16 it became 550 crores. Then will you apply Ind AS in the year 16-17? Yes. So for first time adoption, and ये थोड़ा confusing रहेगा, but institute 70 mark का descriptive है, उसमें आज से 12 साल पहले का चीज थोड़ी ना पूछेगा. I mean if they are asking you, it's very unfortunate, but study material में there are 2-3 questions, so we are covering it. I really think it's a next to zero chance of this part coming in the exam for 31st March 14 because we are already 12-14 years away from it. Does not make sense asking it, but it is there in the study mat, so you should be aware. इसके बाद for you the relevant thing is last audited balance sheet only, but for the people who were applying Ind AS for the first time in 16-17 उनको क्या देखना था? They had to see the net worth on 31st March 14 और नेटवर्थ एज पर लास्ट ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट. अगर दो में से एक भी 500 को क्रॉस कर दिए देन Ind AS लग जाएगा इन द ईयर 16-17. बट द मोमेंट 16-17 इज आउट, आफ्टर दैट इज 250 crores एज पर द लास्ट ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट ओनली. आर वी क्लियर विद दिस? डोंट स्पेंड टू मच टाइम रैकिंग योर ब्रेन्स बिहाइंड दिस. हैव अ ब्रॉड अंडरस्टैंडिंग, सी द क्वेश्चंस एंड प्रोसीड. आई एम रीजनेबली सर्टेन इसके ऊपर आपको क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा. आर वी क्लियर विद दिस? तो सर पढ़ रहे क्यों है? बट आई एम रीजनेबली सर्टन. ऑडिटर होता है ना, फुल हाथ खड़े कर देता है, एज पर ऑल इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइडेड एंड तो हम बोल रहे आने का चांस कम है, आ गया तो भाई इंस्टीट्यूट तो बोलेगा स्टडी मटेरियल में इट वाज देयर. सो ओवर हियर point 1, but you can mark as non-important so you don't rack your brains too much behind this. For initial application under phase 1, that is with effect from 1st April 16, net worth on 31st March 14 needs to be checked. If a company did not exist on 31st March 14 or the net worth on 31st March 14 was less than 500 crores, our second example, then it was only 200 crores, then we will continue to check for Ind AS applicability based on the net worth as per the last audited balance sheet date. So basically for first time application you will look at the net worth on 31st March 14 or the net worth as per the last audited balance sheet. If any one of them crosses 500 crores, Ind AS lag jayega. Like in the second case, my net worth on 31st March 14 was only 200 crores. But my last audited balance sheet on 31st March 16 showed 550 crores. Ind AS to bhi lag gaya. In the first case, my net worth was 600 crores. On 31st March 14, अच्छा उसका नेटवर्थ कम हो गया, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. 31st March 14 it is higher, that means Ind AS becomes applicable. Are we clear with this? Everyone? Yes? Okay. So that kind of takes care of this theory discussion. We'll do the sums. Wherever required, we'll write it in our notes. Otherwise, we will do solving because ये question के sums exam में खास आए नहीं हैं. So we'll discuss a couple of questions. Otherwise, wherever required to be written, we will write it. ठीक है? So we will go to the volumes and you will go to volume number 1. Associate and joint venture. Not mandatorily be applicable. Merely because my fellow is applicable does not mean I will become applicable. But if my parent is under direct application, then I will become applicable. Achha, just one more thing in your notes na. I mean, if you see, there will be certain places where there will be QR codes. So I'll just explain what is there for each of them. When you go to your shield, for example, in your shield there will be a QR code next to the chapter. This QR code will take you to the YouTube revision video. If you click on this, this will go to the YouTube revision video for this chapter. When you look at the QR code on the chapter, it will take you to the Spotify audio note. It will go to the audio summary of the chapter. The shield one will go to the YouTube one. This one will go into, I think, your Spotify audio QR summary. And then what we have tried to do is, we have tried to include QR codes next to every important question. This will be not there in every question. So questions which have LDR written. LDR is last day revision. Most of them, which are last day revision questions. Here I have tried to summarize the important adjustment of this question in, let's say, Hindi hai or English hai, whatever you are comfortable. So अभी शायद आपका, I mean, whatever you are comfortable, you can see. So यहाँ पे it will be a very short summary of the question. Do you need to read all of this? Hear all of this? No. But when you sit to revise, if you are stuck midway, you are unable to understand why this thing is happening, it is highly likely कि मैंने वो audio note में cover किया रहेगा. In audio note, I don't explain you कि this plus this is equal to this, so this, no. वो तो आपको सामने दिख रहा है. But I know as a matter of fact यहाँ पे student को ये क्यों ऐसा गड़बड़ लग रहा है. So I'll explain the broad question and most of the doubts which arise should be resolved. This will not be there in every question. As you see, ये LDR इसके बाद questions are not LDR, so you will not have it. So most of the LDR questions will have those QR codes which are question linked. Do you need to hear all of these? Absolutely no. You need to hear the YouTube and Spotify ones, yes, because they are revision concepts. Question आपको खुद से ही solve करना है. आप अटके तो जाना है उधर. Otherwise वो ही सुनोगे तो मतलब नहीं है ना. एग्जाम में थोड़ी ना QR कोड लेके जाएगी. So you have to be able to solve the questions on your own. If you are getting stuck in something, you go back to it. And in every relevant question that you might have, for example over here, we will put some reference notes. This is just for your reference. This is something that you would want to understand कि ये ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है. आपको सीखना है, एग्जामिनर को नहीं सिखाना है. So reference notes are not something to be written in the main exam. This is something we are explaining that why is this adjustment done. Like why are you doing a particular thing. This is an explanation of that, and so there will be a lot of reference notes around, and there will be some what do you say, extra points where question might not have some information and वो extra होगा. तो extra और reference note आपको main exam में नहीं करना. This is for your understanding. The other things you can use for the purpose of your exam solving. So this is I mean, here for scanning you might need, let us say, audio player, maybe like a VLC player or a video. So there will be some steps. हमने starting में steps भी explain किए, because वो naturally आपको लगता है we are not still so, वो बोलता है ना वो Gen AI इतना नहीं है हमारा, तो थोड़े 2-3 steps है you might need to follow. Starting में we have tried to explain how to you address those QR codes etc. आप कौन से ऐप के थ्रू सुन सकते हो, but you will be able to kind of come up to speed with that. ठीक है, so you know where what is placed. Other than that, in volume 3, as so for you maybe we'll give a separate, usually हम लोग volume 3 के अंदर जो we'll have tests, we'll have 5 tests in total, 4 section wise every month approximately, so 4 months approximately 4 tests and 1 full portion. वो यूजुअली वॉल्यूम 3 में हम डाल देते हैं, बिकॉज रिकॉर्डेड स्टूडेंट को कहाँ से भेजेंगे, बट आपको वॉल्यूम 3 में डाल देंगे तो पर्पस डिफाई हो जाएगा. ओके, सो इफ यू आर अ रिकॉर्डेड स्टूडेंट यू विल हैव दोस टेस्ट्स इन योर वॉल्यूम 3. फॉर यू मे बी यू विल गेट टेस्ट एज एंड व्हेन द टेस्ट हैपेंस. ठीक है, सो we'll go to the questions. At the start of every chapter we will write down these questions, important or LDR questions. देखो आपके बुक में ना टोटल अप्रोक्सीमेटली 1000 क्वेश्चन, 1000 क्वेश्चन, राइट. सो डूइंग ऑल ऑफ देम मे बी अ लिटल डिफिकल्ट इवेंचुअली. सो व्हाट यू डू इज वी विल मेंशन अ फ्यू क्वेश्चंस व्हिच आर इंपॉर्टेंट, लास्ट डे रिवीजन वंस. दिस विल ऑल्सो बी देयर ऑन योर गूगल ड्राइव. every year, not attempt, we change it. Like 26 में अलग रहेगा, 27 में अलग रहेगा, थोड़ा सा ही चेंज आता है, 28 में अलग होता है, based on questions that have come. So usually वो repetition का probability वगैरह. So there will be a Telegram channel. You can just kind of join that channel where we will share every year the important questions. आपके Google Drive पे भी होंगे. So when you are sitting for your exams in your study leave, you can look at your list of your last day revision questions. 90% same ही रहते हैं. But if a question has come 2 times, it's very unlikely it will come again 3rd time now. So वो निकाल के हम कुछ और डाल देंगे वगैरह. So you see your list of LDR questions when you sit to revise. And यहाँ पे हमने अभी के हिसाब से जो important questions है, we have marked it. Again ये questions अगर आप देखोगे, there will be certain questions which are bold and certain questions which are not. The bold ones are the absolute top questions. इसका मतलब होता है कि when you sit to revise ना, there will be a question के भाई मैं हर एक question pen and paper पे करूँ क्या? I mean, if you do 1000 questions on pen and paper, which you ideally want to do, but वो करने जाएगा तो revision आपको खत्म ही नहीं होएगा, right? So we will say that, well, you go through every question. LDR questions you solve. You can scribble around, जैसे आप कैपिटल बजटिंग में कैसे स्क्रिब, बट दीज बोल्ड क्वेश्चंस दे आर आवर सुपर 149 क्वेश्चंस, द टॉप 150 क्वेश्चंस ऑफ द एंटायर बुक, बोथ द बुक्स पुट टुगेदर, टॉप 150 क्वेश्चंस. वो आप अच्छे से करो. उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वो ही करो, वो अच्छे से करो, राइट. सो ओवर हियर दीज आर द टॉप क्वेश्चंस. सो इफ यू आर थिंकिंग दैट व्हाट डू आई डू ऑन पेन एंड पेपर, वेल आइडियली यू रीड इन द फर्स्ट रिविजन, यू रीड एवरी क्वेश्चन. The questions which are LDR, you at least scribble and solve. The questions which are in bold, you solve it properly. So that ways, out of the 1000 questions, there are 400 odd questions जो LDR है, that you are solving, scribbling if not. 150 questions which are within those 400 questions, you are doing on proper pen and paper. So that ways it is organized, because otherwise you sit and solve 1000 questions तो कुछ भी नहीं होएगा. बिकॉज वो एक पॉइंट के बाद आपको लगे कितना टाइम जा रहा है यार, कैसे कंप्लीट होएगा, वो नहीं हो सकता. सो यू कैन डू इट इन रफ. इवन LDR क्वेश्चंस यू कैन डू इट इन रफ, बट दोस बोल्ड क्वेश्चंस यू ट्राई टू प्रॉपरली फॉर्मुलेट. इट इज द न्यूमेरिकल वंस कि कैसे हम प्रॉपरली एग्जाम में करेंगे वैसे आप सॉल्व करोगे इन योर फर्स्ट सेकंड रिविजन. टोटल आइडियली यू शुड प्लान फॉर 3 रिविजन्स प्लस द एग्जाम डे रिविजन. उसके आई मीन टू बी ऑनेस्ट यू कैन मैनेज विथ 2 एज वेल, बट आइडियली फॉर यू 3 इज एप्ट. एंड फॉर यू 3 इज इजीली अचीवेबल, बिकॉज आपके पास तो अभी अनइंटरप्टेड स्टडी लीव रहेगा. right? So earlier people had 4 months of study leave, sometimes 5 months. आपको तो मजा ही मजा. So that ways you have a much longer study leave. So three revisions are definitely achievable, plus the exam day revision. So revision time आपका there will be a planner at the beginning. Your time will reduce. Your first revision if it takes 15 to 18 days, second revision will take 10 to 12 days, third revision will take 6 to 7 days. 2/3 of the time of the earlier revision will be in the next revision. अगर first revision is 15 days, second revision is 10 days. उसके बाद का revision will be 6 or 7 days. So these are your 3 revisions that you have to do other than the exam day revision. First revision we study everything. एवरीथिंग इंपॉर्टेंट है नहीं है वो फर्क नहीं पड़ता. क्यों? फर्स्ट रिवीजन इज एज इफ आप वापस पूरा नया कर रहे हो. मैं आपको लिख के देता हूं, नो मैटर हाउ गुड योर मेमोरी इज, यू विल फॉरगेट इट. डज नॉट मीन के आपको यू विल नो व्हाट थिंग्स आर, बट कनेक्टिंग द डॉट्स होते हैं ना, वो आपको थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट पड़ेगा. तो फर्स्ट रिवीजन यू डोंट वांट टू डू द इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स, यू वांट टू डू एवरीथिंग सो द डॉट्स गेट कनेक्टेड. In the second revision, you can jump on into the important or LDR. From 1000, you come down to 500. And then later you can narrow it down even further, but first revision में आपको सब कुछ करना है. Are we clear of how we are going to progress? And maybe these are resources which can help you, but ultimately पढ़ना तो आपको ही है, right? वो दिन अब तक आया नहीं है कि हम आपके लिए एग्जाम लिख पाए, right? So पढ़ना तो आपको ही पड़ेगा, right? So you might have all the resources with you, but at the end it kind of rests how well you kind of do. And you might have heard this multiple number of times कि भाई motivation just helps you to some extent. It is always जैसे army officer, if I'm working in my army, you think war happens daily? They still wake up at 5 a.m. and they have that exact same regime and routine. But that is because you need to have that discipline. अगर आप बोलोगे अरे चल आज वॉर है आज करते हैं, नहीं वैसा थोड़ी, ऐसा नहीं होएगा यार. वो आपको रोज सुबह को तैयार होकर बैठना पड़ता है, फिर वो होवे ना हो बाद में. सो यू हैव टू एंश्योर दैट आपने वो रोज थोड़ा थोड़ा पढ़ लिया. CA इज नॉट, in my opinion, a very very difficult exam as it is made out to be. You need to score 50. You go wrong every alternate question, you still pass, right? It is not like that IIT JEE or CAT जहाँ पे 99.9 आपको क्रैक करना है. No, you have to score 50. Then how is it so difficult? It is because it is very voluminous. और आप वॉल्यूम अगर आपने मैनेज कर लिया तो जनरली इतना ऐसा नहीं होएगा कि आपको 70 80 90 आ जाएगा, नहीं आएगा. बट वो वॉल्यूम का पूरा गेम है. एंड वॉल्यूम आप स्लोली करते जाओगे ना, बोलते हैं कंपाउंडिंग बेनिफिट्स. दैट कंपाउंडिंग हैपेंस विदाउट यू रियलाइजिंग, एंड आफ्टर अ ईयर और ईयर एंड अ हाफ यू विल बी सो अहेड ऑफ एवरीवन अराउंड यू. आपको समझेगा नहीं कि सिर्फ मैंने 15 मिनट पढ़ा उसमें मेरा इतना फर्क पड़ गया. दैट कंपाउंडिंग इज मैडनिंग. इफ यू जस्ट एंश्योर दैट यू स्पेंड, आई एम नॉट इवन टेलिंग यू स्पेंड आवर्स, स्पेंड अ फ्यू मिनट्स डेली इन योर आर्टिकल शीट. उसे 8-9 महीना पढ़ोगे, बट ये आपको एक फ्लो दे देगा, एक अश्योरिटी दे देगा. एंड दिस विल बी रिसोर्सेज विच विल हेल्प यू, बट दे कैन नॉट एट ऑल सब्सटीट्यूट योर एफर्ट, योर हार्डवर्क, बिकॉज एट द एंड पीपल विल से शुड आई डू ओनली दिस, शुड आई लीव दिस. ऐसा आपके माइंड में आना ही नहीं चाहिए. देखो अल्टीमेटली बोलने को हम बोल सकते हैं ये छोड़ दो ये नहीं आएगा, ये छोड़ दो ये, बट नो वन नोस पेपर में क्या आने वाला है ना. सो वाई डू यू वॉन्ट टू टेक दैट चांस? अच्छे से टाइम है, अच्छे से पढ़ो. आपको आर्टिकलशिप में इतना पैसा तो मिल नहीं रहा है, राइट? सो आपके ऊपर थोड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट करो, राइट? ओके, सो ओवर हियर दिस इज व्हाट यू कैन प्रोबेबली यूज ऑन. एंड नाउ विल गो टू द क्वेश्चंस. गो टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 on page number 1. Okay, following is the snapshot of the audited balance sheet of company A on 31st March 2014. Acha, this is, acha, we have given references over here. ICISM would mean it's a study material question. In certain questions you will have RTPs, MTPs, PYQs, so you will know कि question कहाँ का आया हुआ है. Following is the snapshot of audited balance sheet of company A on 31st March 14. So this is the 31st March 14 balance sheet. Company A's equity shares are listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange since 2010. And you have this entire thing, fixed assets, investments, current assets. Acha, there is a new thing. Acha, sorry, one more thing. Just carry a highlighter along with you. So whichever are certain important adjustments, I'll tell you to highlight. वो highlighter जो मैंने बोला है वो आप अलग रखो. डोंट, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली आप क्या करते हो, आप जब भी पढ़ते हो ना, यू यूज हाईलाइटर लाइक योर आई साइट. ऐसा तो उसका हाईलाइटर का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है, राइट? सो यू वांट टू डू दैट, यू डू इट विद सम अदर हाईलाइटर, अदरवाइज हाईलाइट कुछ हो, सब कुछ हाईलाइट होकर रख गया, राइट? सो कीप अ डिफरेंट कलर हाईलाइटर. आई हैव टोल्ड यू कि ये चीज दिखना चाहिए. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल ओवर हियर, दिस इज वन ऑफ द वेरी फ्यू क्वेश्चंस जहां पे मिसलेनियस एक्सपेंडिचर नॉट रिटर्न ऑफ है, बिकॉज आपका नजर नेटवर्थ में सिर्फ लेफ्ट साइड पे ही जाएगा, आपका नजर राइट साइड पे जाएगा नहीं. हाँ, ये तो एसेट्स है. वेरी फ्यू क्वेश्चन इन द बैलेंस शीट विल हैव अ फिक्टिशियस एसेट ऑन द राइट हैंड साइड. सो वो आपको दिख गया ना, आपको ध्यान, हाँ देयर कैन बी एसेट साइड पे ये देखना है मेरे को. आर यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग इट? सो आई टेल यू सर्टन थिंग्स टू हाईलाइट, कीप दैट विद अ डिफरेंट हाईलाइटर. ठीक है? Okay, so over here miscellaneous expenditure not written off, you can highlight. This is a thing which you should look at in a typical question, which is usually not there in other questions. Then you have share capital, security premium, general reserve, revaluation reserve, P&L, liabilities, etc. As per the roadmap, which phase will company A fall into? Will your answer change if company A is an unlisted company? Okay, question वापस पढ़ना है, clear है? Clear है. अच्छा, first we have to see the date. If it is 31st March 14, we are stuck with that. Otherwise, we could have just taken last audited balance sheet and done. So, what do you need to calculate first? Net worth. अच्छा, can I say merely because I am listed, Ind AS will apply? No, at that point of 500 crore का limit था, even for listed company. If this was not 31st March 14, if this was 31st March 26, मैं नेटवर्थ कैलकुलेट ही नहीं करता, तो क्या ही फर्क पड़ता है? इट्स अ लिस्टेड कंपनी, बात खत्म हो गया. बट हियर बिकॉज इट इज 31st March 14, इट्स फर्स्ट फेज एप्लीकेशन, आई हैव टू डू द कैलकुलेशन. आर वी क्लियर विद दिस? सो इफ आई सॉल्व इन योर नोट्स, यू कैन यूज दिस. सो राइट डाउन क्वेश्चन नंबर 1. Question number 1. What is the first thing you need to calculate over here? Net worth. Calculation of net worth on 31st March 14. On 31st March 14. Okay, help me with this. What all will come under net worth? Will share capital be there? Yes. So for the time being, we can write it in short in your notes. That's fine. Exam में full form लिखेगा. So we'll have ESC, which is equity share capital. This is rupees crores 160. Acha, if there was preference share capital, would you have taken that as well? Yes. So this is 160 plus securities premium. Do you take securities premium? General reserve? Revaluation reserve? No. Profit and loss? What about liabilities? Acha, what if they had told you debentures? It is still a liability at the end of the day, and hence this will be taken. So you will say plus securities premium. Remember, you will take all reserves, revenue as well as capital. In CA Inter at a lot of places you are only taking free reserves, जैसे buyback वगैरह. यहाँ पे वो तो अलग पर्पस था, इट वॉज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. यहाँ पे वैसा नहीं, यहाँ पे सिर्फ नेटवर्थ कैलकुलेशन है. नेटवर्थ इंक्लूड्स बोथ रेवेन्यू एज वेल एज कैपिटल रिजर्व. तो सिक्योरिटी प्रीमियम, इवन हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट CRR, कैपिटल रिडेम्पशन रिजर्व? अगर वो था, वी वुड हैव टेकन. Yes, all reserves other than revaluation reserve will be taken. Yes, please. Convertibility is still not taken. It's still a liability. You show it within liabilities. Okay, security premium is what? 200 plus what? General reserve. How much is general reserve? 150. Achha, will I take revaluation? No, but will I take the profit and loss? Yes. Sometimes institute calls it as retained earnings. Profit and loss which has been retained. How much is that? 75. Achha, and then with a different color pen, is there anything else to be done? Miscellaneous expenditure. अच्छा, will I add or subtract? Subtract. So हमने जो highlight किया उसका impact हमने देखा क्या आ रहा है. Minus miscellaneous expenditure not written off. Basically, it is an expense. It should have been written off. My profit should have been lower, but it is not written off. So I will reduce it now. Acha, help me with this. Is goodwill a fictitious asset? Is goodwill a fictitious asset? No, it is an intangible, not fictitious. Fictitious means it's not an asset in the first place. Can you go out and sell your miscellaneous expenditure? It is not an asset only, it is an expense which is yet to be written off. Goodwill is an actual asset. When you acquire a company, you pay premium for the goodwill reputation. It is like, for example, Instagram got acquired by Facebook. When Instagram was 8 employees, smaller than this classroom, 8 employees. It got acquired for $1 billion, close to 9,000 crores at that time. अभी उसके assets आप देखते थे hardly कुछ था, but still Facebook paid $1 billion. Why? Because of the reputation, the brand, what it carries, उसके वजह से पे किया हुआ है, right? So goodwill is a real asset. People are ready to pay for it. They would not have paid for the miscellaneous expenditure. They're paying for the reputation, the brand of the company. So goodwill is not fictitious. Goodwill दिख गया बैलेंस शीट में लेस नहीं करने का. Don't say net worth is excluding goodwill. No. Goodwill, trademark, patent, they are all intangible. But intangible does not mean fictitious. Fictitious means asset ही नहीं. वो तो खर्चा है. Goodwill is not a mere expense. It is a real asset. Are we clear with this? Yes. So I mean, even Snapchat had this very interesting story where Snapchat was also offered $1 billion by Mark Zuckerberg. Ivan Spiel or something, उनके founder है. He rejected $1 billion. थोड़े साल के बाद Snapchat was offered $3 billion. He rejected $3 billion as well. आज के तारीख में Snapchat is worth $40 billion. 40. But a lot of these things that you actually see, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is known to be really good in copying. Quite literally, I mean, Facebook was earlier पहले Orkut करके हुआ करता था, which became Facebook. Instagram पे जो भी है ना, are all taken from somewhere or the other. The stories that you see, stories आप देखते हो. Their first Snapchat का reel जो आप देखते हो was first a TikTok feature. Everything that you see is actually a feature that is developed by someone और इन्होंने अच्छे से execute कर दिया that ways. So he was offered, I mean, imagine to reject $3 billion. $3 billion is around 20,000 crores, 20,000 crore. And in fact, when he acquired WhatsApp also, it was a very interesting story. If you see, WhatsApp was going to be sold to Twitter. Deal was done. Twitter जब भी पहले था, जैक डॉर्सी का जो कंपनी था, now तो इलॉन मस्क इज रनिंग इट, बट जैक डॉर्सी के पास जब भी ट्विटर था, द डील वाज डन. मंडे को द डील वाज गोइंग टू बी अनाउंस वेयर व्हाट्सएप वाज गोइंग टू बी सोल्ड लिटरली टू ट्विटर. मार्क जकरबर्ग इनवाइटेड उनके जो फाउंडर्स है ब्रायन एक्टन, ही इनवाइटेड देम जस्ट फॉर डिनर ऑन सैटरडे. डिनर पे अब कुछ बातचीत हुआ रहेगा. Jack Dorsey sees in the newspaper that WhatsApp is sold to Facebook. Sunday morning, he's livid. He's like, ये क्या हो गया? हमने तो पेपर साइन कर दिया. So it is all done. So something happened over that dinner. I'm sure आप जो अभी पढ़ रहे हो वैल्यूएशन वो सब कुछ नहीं हुआ है, right? There is no. So something happened where they decided that we will sell it to Facebook overnight. Okay, and WhatsApp went into Facebook that was $15 billion. उसे एक फेमस स्टोरी है. देयर वर 55 एम्प्लॉइज इन व्हाट्सएप. 55. उनकी रिसेप्शनिस्ट ने लैम्बोर्गिनी लिया था. इतना पैसा आया था बिकॉज $15 billion, 15, दैट इज क्लोज टू, आई मीन इट्स बिगर देन द मार्केट कैप ऑफ मोस्ट ऑफ द इंडियन बिग कंपनीज. दैट्स क्लोज टू मोर देन 1 lakh crores. More than 1 lakh crores between 55 employees. With zero revenue. WhatsApp has absolutely zero revenue. So वो overnight deal हुआ था, right? So that was nevertheless. So what I'm trying to say is goodwill is real. People pay a massive premium if your company has a brand value. Whether it is shown in the balance sheet or not shown is secondary. Goodwill, Facebook के books में WhatsApp का goodwill दिखेगा. And that is a goodwill really which is paid. It is not a fictitious asset. Are we clear with this? So over here, you will sit and calculate your net worth. How much is your net worth? Achha, what do you guys think? If net worth on 31st March 14 is 505 crores, will Ind AS become applicable? Achha, is it becoming applicable because it is listed?
No.
Even if it is listed or unlisted, it is applicable because net worth is greater than 500 crores. Are we clear with this? So, achha, Ind AS is applicable from which year? 15, 16, 14, 15, 16, 17. 16, 17. Remember वो 31st March 14 अपना natural instinct बोलेगा चलो 14, 15 को apply करते हैं. No, no. Last word, Ind AS becomes mandatory first time in the year 16, 17 only. ये तो cut off date 2 साल पहले का. Are we clear with this? Write down. Since net worth is greater than 500 crores on 31st March 14, on 31st March 14, comma, Ind AS becomes applicable. Ind AS becomes applicable from, क्या बोलेगे, 1617 into bracket phase 1. Okay, that is the first part of the question. Second part of the question says, will your answer change if company A is an unlisted company? Will it change? No, it will not change because 500 crore के ऊपर है. Let it be listed, unlisted does not really matter. Write down point 2. Answer remains the same even if A is unlisted. Are we clear with this? Okay, next you go to question number 2. Let us say in question 1, the balance of the profit and loss account is a negative 375. When will Ind AS become applicable to company A? Will your answer change if company A is an unlisted company? Aja. If your net worth is, let us say, if you look at question number 2 over here, if your net worth, if your P&L balance is negative 375, तो क्या change होगा? Will only this line item change? But will your net worth change because of that? Acha, one option is you show the entire working. Another option is 505 में से you remove the 75 and then further 375. You will get the revised net worth. कितना आ रहा है? 55. अच्छा, if I'm 55 crores on 31st March 14. अच्छा, उसके बाद का मेरे को नेटवर्क दिया है 15, 16, 17. Is it given? No, assuming it remains the same. Nothing is given. Assuming, let's say बोलते हैं ना working capital, opening stock equals closing stock. If nothing is given, let us say it remains the same. Will Ind AS become applicable? 31st March 14 को 55 करोड़ से आगे भी वो 55 करोड़ रहेगा तो will Ind AS become applicable in the year 16, 17? In the year 17, 18?
Applicable.
Listed company. The moment you are a listed company, 17, 18 में Ind AS will apply. नहीं, वो 55 करोड़ है या फिर 5.5 करोड़. So for this company, Ind AS will become applicable from 17, 18. Phase 2 application directly 17, 18. Because it is a listed company. Achha, now will your answer change if you are unlisted? Yes. Now you cannot say कि 17, 18 पे जबरदस्ती लगेगा ही. अच्छा, 17, 18 if it is unlisted and net worth is still less than 250, Ind AS will still not apply. Ind AS will only apply if you are listed or if your net worth is greater than 250 crores. Are we clear with this? Clear? Okay, write down question number 2. Revised net worth into bracket 31st March 14. You want to do it all over again or direct calculation? Direct. So revised net worth would be 505, but इसके अंदर you have already included P&L. How much was the P&L? That will not be there. So minus 75, remove the P&L. Instead, there's a 375, negative or positive? To add or less? Less 375. If you're not getting clarity, you put instead of 75 over here, negative 375, you will get the same answer. अगर clarity नहीं आ रहा तो. So this is how much? 55 crores. In absence of net worth for subsequent years, comma, Ind AS will not apply in 16-17. Full stop. However, comma, being a listed entity, comma, Ind AS will apply. Achha, when will it apply? In 17-18. Will apply in 17-18. ये first point 2 point 1 point 2 they are saying will your solution change if it is unlisted? Yes. Point 2, if entity is unlisted, comma, Ind AS will not apply till the time net worth क्या बोलेगे? क्रॉसेस exceeds 250 crores. तो डेटा है ही नहीं हमारे पास. We don't have that data. So we are just giving a statement that Ind AS will not apply neither in 1718 nor in 1617. Okay, next you have question number 3. The net worth of company B, which is an unlisted company, was 600 crores on 31st March 14. However, due to losses incurred in the year 14-15, the net worth went down to 400 crores as on 31st March 15. When will the company apply Ind AS? Does it matter that the net worth is falling? No. Can I say that I will look at the net worth as per 31st March 14? If it is crossing 600 crores, I don't need to look at net worth as per the last audited balance sheet. And hence, directly this will be applicable when? We can write it directly over here. SABA, this is not important because here 31st March 14 wala part hai, but there's no calculation involved. So we can just mention over here 1617 into bracket since summary solution hai, since net worth on 31st March 14 is greater than 500 CR. Barabar? Acha, see, while you are revising now, if it's a non-LDR question, is it an LDR question? No. You can just read the question, see the summary solution. अगर आपको तकलीफ होता है, read the detailed solution. LDR है तो पूरा सब करना पड़ेगा, but if it is not there, read the question, summary solution समझ में आता है आगे बढ़ने का. First solution maybe that is fine. You don't need to read all of this. It's absolutely fine. You want to read it if you think you are not able to comprehend or why this is happening. That is okay. बराबर. Question number 4. The net last question. आपके माइंड में वही चल रहा था कि कभी खत्म होएगा, right? Okay, आपकी मन की बात. So question number 4, last thing. The net worth of company C, which is an unlisted company, was 400 crores on 31st March 14. Let's say question ends here. Will Ind AS become applicable? No बोले तो when will it become applicable? 1718 assuming net worth remains the same. 1617 को नहीं लगे अभी, उस less than 5 but more than 250, तो 1718 में जाके बैठेगा ideally if the question ended here. However, the net worth of the company was 600 crore on 31st March 15. अच्छा, now is the net worth higher? It's more than 500 crores. So will Ind AS become applicable? कभी होएगा? 1516 or 1617 or 1718? Sure है 1617? Yes. The law says you will look at the net worth on 31st March 14 or the net worth as per last audited balance sheet if any of them crosses 500 crores. 1617 पे चिपक जाएगा. So ऐसा नहीं कि net worth on 31st March 14 is less than 500 means निकल ही गया. No. It is 31st March 14 or last audited balance sheet. If any of the two crosses 500 crores. अच्छा, पहले वाले क्वेश्चन में 31st March 14 क्रॉस 500 crores, तो हमने अप्लाई कर दिया. In this question 31st March 14 did not, but लॉ ने ऐसा नहीं बोला 31st March 14 का ही देखना, it is last audited balance sheet. अरे but for first time application you also see the one on 31st March 14, but 31st March 14 देखा उसका मतलब ये नहीं उसके बाद के बैलेंस शीट देखने नहीं. You will keep on seeing as per the last audited balance sheet if the net worth on 31st March 14. So simply stated in your mind, if you want to note down, you can say over here that you will look at, for example, if you want to just put a small note, so यहाँ पे asterisk mark करके you can say that is for phase 1 31st March 14 or last audited balance sheet. If either is greater than 500 CR. Either of the two. अच्छा last audited balance sheet कौन सा होगा? It can be a 31st March 15 balance sheet or it can be a 31st March 16 balance sheet. उसके बाद तो phase 2 ही चालू हो गया. So it can be 31st March 15 or 31st March 16 balance sheet. So if either of this is greater than 500 crores, then phase 1 application. Is this absolutely clear? Last means from the date, that is 16-17 के पहले. So cut off date 31st March 14. Before that you don't have to see. So okay. So over here clear है ना अपने को? Okay. And then okay. So what do we write the summary solution here? When will company B apply Ind AS? When will they apply Ind AS? अभी मैं जो बोलूँ आप सही बोलोगे. अभी खत्म करने का. So over here this is 16-17. This is net worth on 31st March 15 greater than 500 crores. बराबर. So the other 4 questions which are there will complete tomorrow. These are more important questions because they are not linked to the 31st March 14 wala thing. So we'll complete that tomorrow. Read whatever is done. Hardly 2 pages of content. Read that. We'll apply it and we'll start tomorrow with Ind AS 16. After this is done, we'll start with Ind AS 16. Okay? Chalo. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
What is 31st March 2015?
Yeah, greater than equal to. Sorry, it is not just greater than. It is greater than equal to everywhere.